Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to dive into our second match of the night. This time, it's going to be Runaway going up against GC Busan. Both these teams have had some interesting matches as of late. Runaway able to get the reverse sweep over X6 to qualify into the winner's match, whereas GC Busan took down Lunatic High, the favorite, yet again for Season 4 in 3-0 fashion. Absolutely dominant in how they get the score off against each other.
And that's why that word, favorite, is the one that I'm really trying to weigh up when it comes to this match, because you feel like Runaway, in your first thought, I think, has to be Runaway, because, okay, they've shown so much innovation, they have the history, but then GC Busan just beat Lunatic High 3-0. So it almost feels like we don't have a big enough sample size from GC Busan. They came on so strong with the new patch. It's very hard to work out what this match looks like. To me, the only real guarantee is that 3 maps, to me, would be impossible. I can't see this being 3 maps. If GC Busan win in 3 maps, suddenly we have a top 3. Suddenly we have maybe a top 2 in the tournament, given if Lunatic High even qualifies for the semifinal. So a lot to be discussed here. A lot of players who are just now staking a claim to be relevant in their field. Prophet, for example, another Korean Tracer player where you really pause and want to compliment how well they played. Also, GC Busan, to me, I loved how much hero swapping they were able to do, how much innovation they showed against Lunatic High. So then you move over to Runaway. That's a hard one to unpack. There's so much going on with Runaway. Some of their hero decisions, we'll get into some stats once we get a bit further into the picture. Runaway are doing everything at once, and 50% of the time it doesn't work. So it's really fun to see where even the lineup is at for this particular match.
They're going to be hoping for a little bit more than 50% here today. They want to close this out concisely. They want to instill some hope into the fans rather than them just kind of limping across the finish line after a sloppy mess of a series.
Do you think Runaway could win a series 3-0 based on what they're showing this season? I don't think so.
Probably not.
So it's going to be at least a percentage play. I don't think they can go through unblemished if they do go through. And if they give us 5 exciting maps, I'm all for it.
I mean, maybe they're able to beat the team that did what they couldn't do, taking down Lunatic High. So maybe they beat GC Busan, and we get one of these weird circles where Runaway still can't beat Lunatic High, but they can beat Busan.
Hey, if you expand the parameters, they did beat them at this stage 2 seasons ago.
Sure. That's 2 seasons ago, though.
I know. Well, we're here now.
There's a while in the past. So that was the Monty Doa era. It's new times.
It is.
Here at Papa Smithy. We got Cloud9 back in Apex. We got, GC Busan, a challenger team, maybe moving in as the second team into the playoffs.
And I wonder how many people took the train from Busan to here. Not the train to Busan. That's what they take home afterwards. But
train from Busan. That's the sequel to the zombie film.
A plane to Busan is what we were also enjoying when we had the other things going on. Of course, GC Busan are sponsored by a airline, so there is, of course, that going on there. Some great artwork in the crowds. The fan here. The Runaway faithful have always been there. They, of course, were super disappointed when they went out in groups last season, but it's been already a lot better this season.
How long is that flight, come to think of it? Was that like a 40-minute flight? Maybe less?
It's about a 3.5-hour train, so I would guess around there.
Yeah, pretty quick one.
Prophet's upside down. That's because he's Tracer. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
He's just hanging out. I mean, I
don't
don't
really good Tracer.
It does look good. I just don't recall a time where Tracer's really upside down in the game.
Some of the Runaway faithful. A couple of chibis there. A lot of players. And there's a player who won't be starting once again, Achilles.
Somebody that we just might not see this entire time. Kaiser
is listed on the bench.
Even has the signed jersey, sitting on the lap there. And I'm going to guess that that's the Runaway fans crying, hoping that Kaiser's going to play.
Well, they are more of a family than ever. Of course, they've always had that really strong link. Runner is by far the father figure of this team, but they are in the gaming house now. There's been great gifts coming out of their hijinks in the gaming house.
It's either that or somebody opened up the Ark of the Covenant and their faces were melting off. It's kind of hard to tell, but we'll go with the crying.
Hey, if I've learned anything from living in Korea 2.5 years, not enough Koreans have seen any Indiana Jones films.
Yeah, that's true.
Not really. Star Wars is like lower penetration than you'd expect, and it feels like Indiana Jones is like almost completely absent. This is just... as a Western person, this is crazy.
And it's really rare for you to be able to criticize people on seeing movies.
Exactly. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I watch the ones you have to watch, but not that one.
Have you seen The Godfather?
No.
Exactly. See? Probably Citizen Kane's not in there.
Nope.
Okay. This could go on for hours. So.
But Overwatch is the Citizen Kane of esports, if you think about it. Said by someone who hasn't seen Citizen Kane.
Sure. Good. They're going to use that on the reviews of the game boxes.
Hey, if I
from
get on
now
the back of Blizzard, my face on the back of the Overwatch box, I've done something right.
Papa Smithy 2017.
Exactly.
Overwatch is the Citizen Kane of esports. Perfect. Well, anyway, now that we've got that gold nugget out of the way, let's go ahead and hear from the teams.
명만 죽어도 이거 바로 이거 킬하는 것도 중요한데 이런 일이 우리에게
꿈이가 갱시가 이게 혁명급이잖아 이건요.
3대0으로 이기는 순간 대박이다. 와 진짜 미쳤다 하면서 그냥 신나게 엄청 소리쳤던 것 같아요. 예전에는 우리가 에이펙스에서 잘할 수 있을까 생각했는데 지금은 이제 결승도 할 수 있을 것 같아요.
힘들어 보여요. 역습이.
아누비스 그 비거점에서 제 용검으로 다 잡았을 때 아 이건 이겼다 이 느낌이 딱 들었어요. 게임이 잘 안 풀릴 때마다 픽을 계속 바꿔요. 그렇게 바꾸다 보면 잘 되는 영웅이 하나가 있어요. 그걸 계속해서 승리까지 가져가는 거죠. 저희 팀만 가능한 전략입니다. 솔직히 루나틱이 올 것 같았어요. GC가 올라갈 확률은 한 20%? 20% 정도로 생각했었는데 올라와서 좀 놀랐어요.
진짜요? 저희도 러너웨이가 올라올 줄 몰랐는데 솔직히 러너웨이 B조 최악차인 것 같아요. 루나틱 할 때 맨날 지던데 왜 지지? 포지션이 계속 바뀌니까 상대하기 쉬운 것 같아요. 조합을 바꾸는 근본이 없어요.
제가 루시오 할 때 감사하세요. 루시오라면 모래주머니를 찬 것 같은데 겐지를 하면 좀 날아다닐 것 같아요. 복스님 저 겐지 좀 많이 시켜주세요. 너무 하고 싶습니다.
저희가 겐트는 좀 약해서 상대 학살 겐지만 마크 잘하면 이길 수 있을 것 같아요. 윈스턴은 차이가 포인트가 될 것 같아요. TG는 그냥 뛰기만 하는 선수고 제스처는 자리를 잘 먹어주기 때문에
아니에요. 우리 티지님이 더 잘해요. 저희의 환상적인 포커싱으로 상대 힐러를 집중 공략하면 이길 수 있을 것 같아요. 피지컬이 너무 차이가 나서 전략까지 필요할까요?
브레그 형은 콕스할 때 질 수도 있을 것 같아요. 스크림에서 대충 하거든요. 진짜 대회 때만 잘하는 것 같아요. 그냥 잘 좀 하자. 스크림이 장난이야? D조 들어왔을 때부터 러너웨이랑 붙고 싶다는 생각 많이 했어가지고 이번 시즌 주인공은 저인 것 같아요. 3대0으로 이기고 4강 가겠습니다.
학수 시즌은 런어웨이입니다. 결승 갈 거니까 팬분들 미리 티켓팅 준비해 놓으세요. 제대로 놀아보자!
Overwatch Apex Season 4, energized by Hot 6, quarterfinal. Today's matchup, Runaway, GC Busan.
Well, you were having a bit of a laugh there, Papa Smithy, during that trash talk
What
segment.
a great trash talk segment, and then Huxel, adorable with the Lucio ultimate there. I liked him talking about the sandbags when he plays Lucio. He's a damn good Lucio player. And of course, one of the best Genjis in the world. Really fun atmosphere here. Both of them talking about win conditions, both of them predicting pretty heavy wins on their side. This one should be a real fun one. I think there's a lot to talk about here. And I like how, in our previous match, we had Europe versus Korea. We had Cloud9 play. Busan, of course, is the second biggest city in Korea. So there is still a bit of regional focus here between Runaway and GC Busan. A new org, but an org that is really forging their way forward. They said 3-0. They want to go through Lunatic High and Runaway, both Season 2 finalists, in 3-0 fashion. If they do that, everything we thought we knew about Apex at the start of the season is completely out the window.
Yeah, I mean, he can also just slingshot this org forward, fairly new, only in a few different esports titles here in Korea, Bladen, Seoul, and MMO Arena Fighter game. And then Overwatch is pretty much going to be the big noteworthy titles that they have going for them. And if they can find success here, make it into the playoffs, maybe even go a step closer towards that final, into the semifinals, it could be huge for the success in the future of this organization, stretching into other esports titles.
I mean, when the season started, I didn't know I wanted either of these teams to be this far into the top, but now I'd love to see either of them in the best of 7 stage. We're going to get to know more about them, of course, before we actually proceed to the match. Let's find out about Runaway.
근데 학살이 죽긴 했어요. 2대1. 조금의 꽃이 발동되면서 하나는 잡아내긴 했습니다만. 네. 부족. 스페이스로. 됐고. 오, 이번 다 했어요.
Bumper.
하늘의 그 뒤쪽. 와! 학살쇼. 이야, 진짜 오랜만에 학살이 이 에이펙스 무대에서 소위 하드캐리하는 그런 모습이 지금 나오는데.
Haksal.
수비가 되고 힐베가 떨어지면 할 거 다 했죠. 장거포. 이거 한다. 약간 욕심이었어요. 이게 변할 수 있을까요? 땅땅땅.
Cox.
내가 빠지고. 네. 하나가 벌수 있다. 벌수까지 먹고. 또 못하고 3번 연속 죽었죠. 또 붙자까지 붙여 있는데. 묵지면.
Stitch. TZ.
비비기가 지금 유지되고
Janu. Kaiser. Runner. Runaway.
There we go, rounding out the video with the two that we will not be seeing here today, at least not to start things off with Runner and Kaiser there on the bench, so press F to pay your respects.
I sat in a hotel room at around 6 a.m. in North America watching X6 Gaming versus Runaway, and I saw Stitch's play on specifically Route 66, where I think he had one of the best rounds I've seen of any player ever. He was insanely clutch on the Tracer on that particular map. Stitch has been a star. There are a lot of carries in this lineup. Haksal half the time is bossing it on Genji, half the time is bossing it on Lucio. An insane stat is that this season, Haksal has played 44% of game time on Genji and 41% on Lucio, the opposite ends of the spectrum. And OGN will have no idea how to organize their portraits at the top, usually so clean, support, carry, and tank. But with this team, every round it changes, and that means that preparing for them has to be a monster of a headache.
Yeah, not sure what Haksal is going to be pulling out at any given turn. So if he goes over to that DPS, then you have that triple threat with Stitch, with Cox and Haksal that can absolutely rip you apart. But to start things off, likely going to be seeing him on that Lucio, ever popular and important on those control maps. On the other side of the spectrum, GC Busan coming up from the Challenger
GC
squad.
Busan.
Let's go ahead and introduce the team.
뒤에 돌아왔어요. 부착 안 되고 바닥에. 근데 오히려
다니엘이 메카가 터져서 레전드
오늘 맞춰놨기 때문에 체력이 없는 거를 정리를 해줘도 부착.
됩니다. 약속하죠.
Profit.
그냥 일방적으로 얻어가지고 큰일 납니다. 그러면 빨리 도망가고.
어그로 완벽하죠.
시작부터 끝까지
난리 났어요.
꿈에 나올까 무서워요. 꿈에 나올까 무서워요.
오늘 후렉
이거죠. 있으면 그러죠. 채우고 덮어야죠.
Hurek.
있거든요. 아니면 무섭죠. 겨울이 재워놓고 끌리면 오히려 주식보다는 위험해집니다. 잘 줬죠.
Hagopun.
어쨌든 지시부산도 버텨주고 있었던 상황.
못 도망갔고요. 이거 1분밖에.
Audio.
뒤로 빠지면서 벤지부스로 다 킬을 하는 것도 중요한데 기다려.
이게 뭐죠?
Closure.
계속해서 끊기고 있고.
안 써도 되는 상황. 오히려 미로 잘 못 잡고 있고. 여기서 너무 좋은데요. 위치.
Gesture.
자, 연거 포착 수영 잡아버리고. 모았어요. 없습니다. 1분 40초예요. 떨어지는 거 조심해야 되고 떨어지는 거 낙사.
Uhyal. GC Busan.
All right, there they are, the Titan Slayers that are GC Busan. It's been a crazy ride for these guys to make it all the way here into this winners match, and very well could be the second team moving forward into the playoffs.
Dynamic Busan, Air Busan, GC Busan. It's all about the coastal city of Busan. It's all about their victory over Lunatic High and backing it up with a win over a reinvigorated Runaway. Be so big for this roster. No sign of Ariel for a couple of games now. They have settled on Wu Hyal, who showed us some great Evo, but also the Zarya flex last time out. Flexing will certainly be advantage Runaway. They are the team that's reinventing how Overwatch is played. But Busan have really ramped up. They started off the Challengers Season 4 season in first spot, then they moved into the second group stage and fell behind LW Red, that of course are now in the losers bracket of the round of 8. They are getting stronger as the tournament goes on, and they're against this real unknown in Runaway, because Runaway, during a series, it feels like by Game 5, they're a different team to Game 1. They finally settle on what's working. Will Cox be on the primary DPS? Will Huxel be playing Genji? All we know for now is that we're going to Lee Jungtao.
Yep, we'll be starting things off here with Lee Jung. See how they're going to fare. GC Busan, honestly, strategically might want to avoid going up 2-0 in this series.
Ah, yes.
And that likelihood of that reverse sweep coming through just sinks down to 0. But no, want to be able to start off strong. They want to have that momentum to try to carry them forward. X6 going up against Runaway, unfortunately, weren't able to close it out. Lost that momentum, faltered, and then Runaway just took it and ran all the way down to the finish line.
I think both these teams have been really on point with swaps, really inventive with changing the meta. They aren't just sticking with the same 6 heroes the entire time. And that's what I think Overwatch is all about. So until those timers fully run out, things can change between these two teams.
I mean, we already saw that in our first series. NC Fox is able to get that cap on Horizon. Have to wait for that meter to hit all the way down to 0, but let's go ahead, load up for our first map in this best of 5. One of these teams going to be moving forward into the semifinals. Let's head to Lee Jung Tower.
I get it.
Here, Busan fans out there in the audience putting up a pretty good fight in the cheer versus Runaway.
The cheers are growing from the side of Busan. There weren't many cheers on the first day. A couple of loyal Busan fans taking that long train and coming here to watch their team, but the numbers are growing. That means that we're going to have two very vocal fan bases as Huxel, for now, is going to be opening onto the Genji. Bumper, it should be mentioned, went from being the sub-tank player into also flexing onto heroes like the Lucio. He'll be opening Lucio here, so Genji versus Farah is the big DPS matchup to divide the two teams.
Well, I mean, we've seen Who Are You manage this one in the past. Huxel, given his fame with the Genji pick, should be able to fare quite well, but already Bumper's under fire. He's going to go down. Gesture on the other side has been taken out, but we're still 10 seconds from the point to be unlocked, so the Winston can go ahead and rejoin, and Hureg is just going untouched. Cox desperately trying to fire away with those orbs to finish him off, but hasn't really found anything yet, and that might just be the first cap going over to the GC.
I was wondering if Runaway would take a more creative path, but going in the open meant that if the Farah was being run, Farah was going to have the killing fields. It's all about Farah so far. Jester went down to a boop. Didn't really matter.
Nice
2
stagger
more
there.
picks, yeah, and the staggers are real. And now Runaway really have to reevaluate how they're even going to get onto the point to contest it.
Yeah, and Cox, you know, again, you think back to that last series versus X6, he was instrumental coming up with kills onto the enemy tracers, getting rid of Time Boy. Even on that Zenyatta, just taking him out in close range with that accuracy. So far, haven't really seen it from him to try to get Hureg weakened here in the air.
We need someone actually contesting Farah to be able to even attempt to duel him. You're not going to 1v1 very often unless a lot of other things are happening. This time they actually do take the ground there, and they'll be able to get near the point.
Pretty
No
poor
value here.
ultimates there actually coming through from both DPS members of Busan. Hurek not getting anything with a barrage, and Prophet had his pulse bomb consumed by the defense matrix. Now Gesture falling. Might be the cap going over to Runaway, but the answer back. Rez is going to come through to bring Jester into the fight, but Runaway will go ahead and respond with a sound barrier. Hoxall drawing out the Dragon Blade, dashing forward, finds one here on a closer, looking for a bit more. Gets the Mercy in midair, dashes up, can't quite get that second slice in onto Hurek to finish him off, but the damage has been done. GC Busan will go ahead by a little bit more time, by a little bit more percentage, but the cleanup is there. Runaway finally get the flip.
And the upside of not running the Pharah is that when you actually force the enemy to fight in the enclosed areas where the ability to go vertical isn't as powerful, then Genji will get the work done. Hoxall, one of the best at using Dragon Blade, so often not with the nano boost. No nano blades for him. Just the Dragon Blades, gets the maximum value, and let's see if GC Busan can attempt to flip.
Well, they drop down that sound barrier, but it doesn't clip everybody. Just a few members really going to be sticking in with that shield. Tries to get the turnaround there, Stitch onto the pulse bomb stick, but does not have it. In the meantime, both supports have gone down here for Runaway. Cox and Bumper both getting taken out as Hurek continues to just wreak havoc from the skies, building up for yet another barrage. And as you say, Prophet comes up with the 3K, ripping through them. Runaway still maintain control for now, but the pop out there onto Yanu means that the flip is likely to happen. 43% is what they accrued. Now 70 here for Busan, and they have plenty of ultimates to try to ensure that they can hold on to this.
Said a lot about Stitch when it came to the last map, but Prophet also had a star-making performance, was able to clean up very nicely in that scenario. Runaway once again going to try to return as much coverage as possible to deny the advantage of being able to roll the air. Still no switch to hit scan for Runaway, who usually do flex their rolls, but not in-game, between games usually when that happens.
Coming in from the backside here, Prophet gets the stick in. That's going to be Cox going down. Sound barrier comes out right at the last second, as they will get the knockout onto Huyal, and actually
Stitch.
Jester goes down. Closer will finish off Hoxall, but now the barrage coming in from the skies, and the res just brings them all right back into the fight. Hurek will go down right after that res comes through, but now it's 99% ticking downward, and Runaway doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get this one too far away. Hoxall doesn't get a chance to use that Dragon Blade, and that is going to be Gardens going over to GC Busan.
And it's felt like Runaway didn't have the right setup compared to what Busan opened, and then because their hero pools are not really individual hero pools, like for example, you look at Cloud9 Kongdu and Rascal and Birdring are all the DPS heroes together. Because you need multi-pronged swaps to really get the configuration you want on the side of Runaway, that usually means that someone is feeling like they don't want to swap because of ult charge, or you're really going to have a huge disadvantage on control, especially where the setup's so important. You can make those sort of swaps on other map types. You get far more punished for it on control, where it's basically 3-4 team fights and the map is over. In this case, they couldn't get the right configuration. They had no answer to Hurek's Pharah. An advantage, GC Busan.
We'll see if they can close this out with a 2-0. Or if Runaway will be able to extend the Lijiang Tower to 3 whole rounds. Yet again, Hoxall going to be there on that Genji. Cox still with the Zenyatta. So no alterations coming through here for Runaway thus far.
Opening salvos, but no hard committal for now. Runaway playing on the point, but that doesn't necessarily mean an advantage of any sort.
Cut their way in. Unlock's going to be there in 3 seconds, but Busan will be able to push forward to try to get that contest. In the meantime, Hurek just firing away freely, building up towards that tack visor, but a nice opening there onto Hago. Does help out Runaway in getting this first secure. Nearly have it, but those kills coming through, getting rid of Hurek, getting rid of Gesture, is pretty much just going to allow them to finally get that cap coming through. So there we go. Gets the lockdown. We'll see how long they can hold on to this one, but there we go. Stitch yet again comes up with multiple kills just to get a nice little stagger, and even Bumper will go ahead and knock Huyal off the map.
And the accuracy of Hoxall's left clicks before the actual commitment to the fight happened mean that he has Dragon Blade basically available for the next fight, and DPS a little bit further away for the side of Hurek.
Stitch poking in from the side, tries to throw it out, doesn't find the stick, and he's not going to be getting the damage coming through, but they still follow up to finish off the Zenyatta. Still not going to be without any Prophet here. I say that, actually Prophet's on the screen.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah.
It has happened sometimes. Thankfully, so far we haven't gotten into any tricky situations with some of Runaway's members. Those are a little bit more risky.
That's true. We've put ourselves in some situations.
We have. So have Runaway, and for now at least, ticking up as Hoxall draws that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, going low down to 12 HP. Can he stay alive? Yes, he can. Cuts his way through absolutely everybody, helping to secure the 3K. Now finishes off Huyal in the end. And that is the Dragon Blade that we were waiting to see from Hoxall at the end of Gardens. Didn't get a chance to use it, but here everybody is just tightly contained in the hallways, and he just cuts them down one after the other.
I remember watching Apex Season 1 and hearing the stories of Hoxall's Genji, and the thing that we were always struck by, he never needed the Dragon Blade to make them work. He was so smart at getting around fights without the nano boost. Sorry, I was specifically talking about, but we're going to restart the fights already. Hurek's drawn his ultimate.
Cox has gone down. They kept him alive a little bit longer there with a sound barrier from Bumper, but now both supports have fallen and closer response with his own sound barrier. Busan
Back cap.
looking like they're going to get their way in onto the point. Yeah, do have the back cap, but the rest of the team is pushing forward. Runaway have to go ahead and rejoin.
They love the 99%. Stitch is going to do his best to get there, but I think he's going to fail.
And won't get taken down in the end as Corridor onto the Tracer. The 1v5 situation means that he just falls. But 92%, so pretty damn close here for Runaway, so not a poor first hold.
Big hope is that both support ultimates were required to make that work for Busan. They have other ults, but having both the Transcendence and Sound Barrier down is happy times when Hoxall is closing in on the Dragon Blade. Got very low, poking for the Dragon Blade, and that means he has to back away, and a bit more time is gained for Busan.
Both going to have zone control with those self-destruct. But there we go. Yes, Nick comes through, finds Bumper, and that's going to be Cox going down.
Both
Yet against a Prophet, just gets rid of both supports as Busan only lost out on Hago.
Jester had to Primal Rage, not ideal.
Uses that one.
Hoxall's going to ult.
I believe Tizzy used his own, but yeah, Hoxall trolls that one out. Finds one kill, but will get taken down in the end. This is where things start looking very poor for Runaway. They try to get that cap coming through. Weren't even able to get 50% of the way there. Get a 50% GC Busan now going to be ticking upward past that as Cox is under fire, but manages to stay alive.
Weird for Hoxall to draw the ultimate there with how many members had already gone down. Both supports already dead. Now we'll have to build up the Dragon Blade again, and feels like Busan have already basically cemented themselves. It's knocking on the door to potentially taking down this control map. Runaway has one more attempt, and they will have neither DPS ultimate available unless it's a very protracted fight.
Yeah, and now Hago has that Transcendence. You can see him already using this one. It's not enough to keep Hurek alive in the fight. Hoxall still does find that kill. But Runaway still need to make it in onto the point because now it's 80% Busan going upward. Yano gets knocked out of the mech and Bumper will go down. So yet again, both supports have fallen. Now Stitch taken out of the picture as well. Hoxall's trying to answer one in, does get closer right at the end of this, but still just so far away from being able to get this cap. And now they're going to have to just try to force overtime and wait for the rest of the team to rejoin them.
Stitch will come back in with the Pulse Bomb, but like you say, there was some good closing picks for Runaway, but nothing enough to force the point. And GC Busan, smart positioning, backing away. Just jam in the Diva ultimate.
Throw that one in, but it's not going to be getting anything. Cap nearly there. Transcendence invested, but now Busan pushing back through to maintain control with that sound barrier. Attack Visor is being flailed around here by Hurek. Manages to stay alive. Finally gets a pop out there onto the mech of John, who finds the kill with the Helix Rockets. They are just sweeping them under the rug, and that should just be about it. They get a final tag, and Stitch rejoins, has to recall away from his own Pulse Bomb. Goes back forward, but gets met with some Helix Rockets to the face. And GC Busan do close out Lijiang Tower.
GC Busan extending their form from the Lunatic High Series earlier this week into having a famous week of Overwatch by going 4-0 up, 1-0 up in this particular map, and then 3-0 against Lunatic High, all in the course of this week of Overwatch. And my big takeaway was the coordination from Busan. We were seeing the perspective of Hoxall getting exit picks, but we're like, okay, get back on the point. 3 members had pulled off, not allowing themselves to be involved in the crossfire, then re-engage. They were never giving away anything for free. No free lunches from GC Busan. Means that they are the more consistent team over the course of the 2 control maps and deserved victors of map 1.
Yeah, really great rounds from these guys. So starting things off 1-0 here in this best of 5. Can they do it again? Can they go 6-0 to qualify into the semifinal?
Here's what I'll say about Runaway. Fans out there, of course, want to see this team do well. Them going down 3-0, send some shocks around the world. What I'll say about the team, we have a bit more time to talk about
Just
them.
attack pause. Kaiser's in the room, but don't get too hyped, guys.
Exactly, people there lost their minds for a moment. What I'll say about Runaway, now that we have a moment, is that kind of what I was mentioning during the course of Control is that when you need these intricate solutions to get through their creative shared hero pools, I feel like Control is probably the worst map type for them because you're kind of cemented and sticking on your hero. You can't just go back, do a 3-man swap, Lucio speed boost in, and try again and take advantage of positioning errors. You can't really do that on Control, where ultimates are basically all that is necessary in order to flip. So when we're now moving away from Control, where they've struggled, I think that suits them better. They could still be bowled over. They have so far been able to fight back. But the difference between the best of this Runaway lineup and the worst is quite a damn lot.
Yeah. So some nice highlight plays here from both sides, but I mean, Hurek and Prophet, they're the DPS duo that have come out on top here to start things off on Lijiang Tower. Individually, shining moments from all 4 of these players.
That's interesting.
But just not enough, and I mean, the poor investment on Dragon Blades cost them quite a bit here on Night Market as well.
And it's interesting with Busan, because my takeaway from this series against Lunatic High was that they were very good at answering what they expected from Lunatic High. Lunatic High, especially when Hurek used in the lineup, you're expecting the Genji, and Hurek came in, he had the McCree ready, doing very well on that. But this was all about posing questions, saying, okay, I'm running Farah. Do you have an answer to it? And the answer for Runaway was no. They've also been creative with Hurek himself jumping onto the Widowmaker as well on some of the later points of King's Row. I wonder if King's Row will be the selection. I'd imagine move away from it if you're the side of Runaway. And of course, another one of the decisions here is we're moving on to Hybrid. Numbani's been a favorite for them in the past.
That's what I was thinking, is perhaps see the Numbani come back out.
Numbani, you can even run triple DPS on Numbani, have Cox on Soldier, for example.
Yeah, it's just so worrisome if you're a Runaway fan moving forward here, so that they don't show a concise answer to the pharmacy comp because of how prevalent it has become as of late.
But they have a concise answer. It's just Cox can't be on Zenyatta. He needs to be on McCree. He's a great McCree player, but you can't do that on Control. If you open up, see it. On this map, you can say, okay, you go for an opening salvo, or you just fully on disengage, don't give over any ult charge, and you swap over and Lucio speed boost over. So they have answers. It just, with the setup they were running at that time, with sub support being Cox, it wasn't available.
See how they're going to handle the hybrid map here. We'll see what they're going to select as well. Like you and I both agree, Numbani probably going to be the most likely one to come out, but perhaps they will surprise us with something a little bit different.
This season,
either way, they want to pick up that victory. They want to make this a 1-1. Do not want to allow JC Busan to move to that match point and potentially close out, 6-0.
Amusingly, Numbani has been their most played of the hybrid, but they're 0-2 on the map, which, given how strong they were previously, the recency effect is there, saying maybe not Numbani, but given how they set up as a team, they are perfectly set up to do well on Numbani. So I wouldn't be surprised here. Eichenwald's another old favorite of theirs. They could visit as well. They're not as much a Kings Row team as other teams. They're 1-0 on the map this season. There's never been a big pick for them. So it's going to be really fun to see what they actually do decide on here. There's a lot of variables to consider. Honestly, who's playing DPS influences which hybrid map they play.
All right. Well, perhaps the selection will tell us a little bit more. It's going to be King's Row, so the one that we weren't really expecting at all does come through. So moving to something a bit more standard, even ground for both teams.
Now your mind starts to race. What does this mean for hero lineup? Will we see, for example, some big movements? A Reinhardt, a Zarya, a McCree. It's a possibility for this team to actually mess things around and defy expectation. Runaway have made their name this season on mixing things up. We still don't know where the ducks lie until we actually see the hero selections, because the roles, they flex so much.
Yeah, it's going to be all over the place. But King's Row, either way, see how they're going to be handling this one. Likely have invested quite a bit of time onto this map. But like you say, maybe the Reinhardt Zarya does come out. We'll see.
But no Kaiser.
The failings, perhaps. But yeah, that's true. No Kaiser. So maybe we don't see the Reinhardt. Maybe we just get more of the Winston and the Diva. I actually almost said the Miro and the Diva because of how synonymous those two are. But,
hey,
all right.
GC Busan have already beat one Miro this week.
That's true. Can they do it yet again? We're going to find out. Maybe they can move the match point here if they can take down King's Row. Otherwise, Runaway looking to even up the score. Let's go ahead and load up to Mario London. I don't think I've ever not heard that cheer the person who starts the cheer for Runaway. I think it's always that guy.
And it's a male cheerleader as well. Usually it is the female fans out here in force, but Runaway has the mixed fan base. But you're right, he is a very powerful voice. And the fans are always super loud. They do rally behind Runaway. They were disappointed in Season 3. They had probably the second biggest fan base at the start of Season 3, kind of understandably, given they had made it to the final. And then Kongdu's fan base really built up after they stacked the Panthera lineup.
Also, one of the loudest finals we've ever heard during Season 2.
It was insane.
I would like to
We were outside, and still it was insane.
No, Season 2.
Oh, Season 2, sure.
Yes,
Season 3 was
Lunatic
pretty loud, too.
Lunatic High versus Runaway was the loudest I think I've ever heard, but Season 3 was also pretty damn impressive.
Defensive dive coming through from Runaway. Hureg will be jumping onto the McCree, so expecting Haksal on the Genji. That mind game does go the way of Busan, but no guarantees. You have to hit the flashbang to actually have this work out.
Yeah, the flashbang hit the headshots. See if he's able to do that. Finds one there, takes Haksal down to about half HP, but he's not going to be able to follow up with anything more than that for the moment.
Gonna jump on and actually be able to go the hotel on the backside.
They got a nice little wrap around here. Goes Busan and the high ground advantage here for Hureg.
Yeah, positioning's very good. They've basically been able to swap positions with Runaway, which suits you if you're Busan.
I mean, that's almost a tick already for them.
Basically for free.
Nearly locked in. Runaway does posture back forward in onto the point and deny that from getting completed at least for the
losing the
moment.
Diva mech's big here.
Yeah, Jano gets taken out of the mech. Not going to be a good look here for them. Stitch wraps around from the back side, but gets booped immediately and has to dash out to safety.
Getting a bit of a headache as they swap positions again and again.
It's going to be a nice little corner here where everybody just jumps in on top of each other. Haksal goes down, but so does Hureg. But yet again, Janu will just get taken out. Pulse Bomb knocks Woohyal out, but Prophet follows up and finds the kill. Runaway will invest this Transcendence to try to stay competitive, but now Hago is going to have his own, as well as a sound barrier coming in imminently for them to just go ahead and try to close this one out. Second tick's going to come through, and I think Runaway might just have to surrender point A.
You don't often talk about macro game, but the way GC Busan was able to run around Runaway in terms of being able to actually corral them away and get the better positioning on the point, drop down and take it down was very commendable for GC Busan. It was very smartly fought. Playing around terrain advantages, and Runaway seemed a little bit all over the place when it came to how to set up. By the time they invested the Transcendence, there weren't enough members really to profit from it. So they end up taking it very cleanly there, GC Busan, and getting through the Streets phase.
Got plenty of ultimates to work with here, both supports. Deadeye on the way. Runaway just going to be having that sound barrier here for the moment. We will see that Transcendence being invested as Hago. There's a lot of pressure coming down onto him, but now that's going to be the Dragon Blade drawn out. We cut away from Haksal. He goes dangerously low. It seems like he will get taken out in the end as Hago just finding that kill. He even traded up getting rid of Cox at the same time. So things still looking decently strong here for GC Busan as they try to continue this attack. And again, we'll get the pop out there onto Janu. Delay coming through from Bumper just to try to be a bit of a pest, but in the end, this payload will keep moving forward.
That's actually next level observing by the Observer because Transcendence and Sound Barrier are up, so we don't need to watch the Genjis not killing anyone through both support ultimates, so I need to focus on what can usually be a game changer. Great answers there, support ultimates perfectly timed, Hakshal's ult wasted. No changes from Runaway. It's weird to see this team that got this far from swapping around, from rejigging the lineup. They may be able to do that after the break, but when it comes to this particular series, they're sticking with the same.
Stitch trying to get the pick off here onto Hago. Help with Tizzy does get that one as Janu finds his self-destruct kill onto Woohyal, so we'll be halting this payload, at least for the moment. But it's still going to be 3 minutes, 20 seconds remaining. With just this final corner to go around before they dock into point B. So GC Busan still has plenty of time to work with, can just go for a couple eco pushes if need be.
Like you said, the timer is certainly not a headache. We didn't even see full pushes from both sides when we saw Kingsrow earlier. Looking to come around the right side this time at GC Busan. Getting creative, don't want to just barrel down the middle and give free charge to Haksal. They don't want to allow any left clicks to hit from range and farm up that second Dragon Blade.
Greg getting jumped on here, now looks to find Stitch. Recall comes through to keep himself safe. You also see the sound barrier invested. Deadeye gets drawn out, can he find anybody? The answer's going to be no, but does get the pop out on the mech as you say, so Janu going to be exposed yet again for what feels like the umpteenth time so far in this match. Just can't seem to stay inside. Greg completely backed into a corner, however. Won't have anywhere to go, he'll get taken down by Tizzy, as does Hago. So finally Runaway gaining some ground, and now they have multiple ultimates to work with to hold on to control of this payload.
That was really nice from Runaway, playing around Hoxall, because he was at the same point focused on by the McCree. He was also discorded, and yet the team played around him. They used the Diva to try to buy and take away some damage. One able to take him down, dive onto the McCree. Expertly done on defense by Runaway. And this Streets phase is getting uncomfortably long for the side of GC Busan suddenly.
Yeah, they had a lot of momentum at the start, but just get halted down here by Runaway. Again, have plenty of ultimates to try to invest here. We will see that Primal Rage get popped as Tizzy tries to go forward. Transcendence is going to be thrown down by Hago, just trying to keep everybody alive. Oxel still maintaining control of the Dragon Blade, hasn't tossed it out yet, dashes away from Bumper right as that Pulse Bomb comes through and gets his way into the back line to take out Hago. He's still looking for more, can't quite get these slices through, does get Gesture right at the last second. Now trying to follow up, will get that right click in on the Prophet, and Oxel wasn't as clean as he would have liked, but they get the shutdown, they stomp out Busan, and yet again, they'll stop that payload from moving.
And it's just fleeting moments of beauty from Runaway where they're able to precisely layer their support ultimates into the Dragon Blade. They knew everything was down on the side of GC Busan. They clean them up, and that's the Runaway that gets everyone excited, that lets them think that they can go further. They're still by no means out of it. It's been a great defense at the Streets phase. Here comes GC Busan, no ultimate, but soon to be Sound Barrier.
Less than a minute now here on the clock as they try to get this completion in onto point B. Up onto the high ground goes Gesture. To kite back as that Discord Orb comes through immediately, and he drops down to about half HP. Johnny was just trying to gatekeep here up top. With that defense matrix,
the
he'll actually just go ahead and drop the self-destruct straight up here onto the high ground, gets back into the mech, trying to keep him alive. Sound Barrier was invested, as you do say.
Hoxall so close to ult, but does die.
Oh, yeah, gets taken out. Hago coming up with the kills. In the meantime, Gesture gets rid of both supports with that Primal Rage, and it seems like GC Busan will have done it here. Be able to get this completion as Stitch tries to dash back over to get this payload in contention, but it's not going to happen. But they drain him down to about 15 seconds before they get here into point B. So a minute and 45 is all that they have to work with to get through the Foundry.
You definitely don't slump if you run away after that. You feel good about how long you were able to delay, and a minute 30 is very difficult to full push through the Foundry.
I mean, it took a minute 20 for Cloud9 Kongdu in our first map. They have plenty of time still left on the clock, but they're a considerably stronger team, you'd have to say.
died as he was drawing the blade, so still has it for the next time.
Ethan takes him out. Cox will go down as soon as that Transcendence expires, and Hago is just completely untouched after his. He just keeps everybody topped up. The payload will start inching forward here for them. They're trying to get that stagger in onto Jono to knock him out of that mech.
Should have been better, though. Honestly, it should have been better for GC Busan. They're unlucky that they don't get the credit for denying the ultimate there because he died so early into drawing the blade. They were able to get the Dragon Blade out, and those 2 kills would have been perfect. Still a lot of work to be done.
Oh, well, here we go. Everybody contained. That's going to be both supports going down. Hoxall finds them now, looking for a little bit more. Maybe the pop out there onto Wu Hyul would be quite nice to get that stagger going through, but yeah, misses out on the dash. Not going to be finding it. So we'll just buy a little bit more time. 40 seconds remaining on the clock. GC Busan realistically going to have one more push to try to get this going.
Dragon Blade will be down. All ultimates down, short of the Diva. Bumper with a very late switch off of Lucio. No Lucio on the defense, just trying to use the sight lines. All about the left click accuracy here for Bumper, so maximum healing from safety is what he chooses.
He's going to hang as far back as humanly possible, so he doesn't have to play forward to keep everybody topped up. Closer, however, as that Sound Barrier ready to go, self-destruct toss in the back. Not going to be finding any picks here, but in the meantime, Bumper actually gets rid of Prophet right after he lost Cox, so Bumper can still stick around and try to keep the team topped up. Stitch goes forward, helps get rid of Hureg, but they need so much more. Transcendence thrown down, Hago keeping everybody topped up, pushing forward straight in onto the payload, but it's still in contention. Just now starting to move forward, but yet again, Stitch goes back in to keep this one tagged out, but goes low, has to retreat. Starts inching forward yet again here for GC Busan, but Runaway going to be pushing forward. Nanoblade coming out, finds one. Hago going down, looking for another target. Is Hoxall, gets the knockout there onto Wu Hyul, gets the kills, gets the halt. And that is going to be GC Busan stopped right in front of point C. Runaway now just basically needing a completion to tie the score 1-1.
And it was that beautiful marriage of smart play in the Streets phase into innovation on the end. Jumping off the Lucio, realizing we don't really want to contest the payload. We just need to win a single fight to deny this area. They have Bumper hang back as far as humanly possible. Lots of terrain to allow you to be safe as Ana right at the end of the Foundry. Bombs up the Nano Boost, and for the first time in a series, it's Nanoblade for the side of Runaway. They close them out, they deny the full push, and a very achievable push for Runaway to close out the Overwatch for the first break at least. There's a real chance it could be 1-1.
Like we said, a 3-0 in this series from either side would be absolutely crazy.
Great timing here. Just as he farmed the Dragon Blade, then the Nano Boost was available. Cut through the Diva. Once 2 are down, the front line is dead. There's always going to be a halted push for Busan. There is the very achievable spot that we need to push the payload through if you run away.
Well, Busan starting things here with the defense over point A. Seems like it's going to be Hureg on the Soldier with Prophet, maintaining control on the Tracer. Outside of that, nothing different going to be coming through.
Hureg was largely on the Soldier 76 last time. He was one of the Resident Doomfists of Apex, but moved away from that. Does play it situationally, but not a common pick, especially on an open area like point A of Kings Row. The setup here, very, very standard from the side of GC Busan. Runaway, well, they're trusting in Hoxal today, and so far he's been delivering, really.
Yeah, I mean, a couple hiccups on Lijiang Tower, but Kings Row has been going much smoother for them. So we'll see how this attack is going to start things off.
Not every
For
Genji
Runaway. How
ult.
quickly can they get this is going to be the question.
Not every Genji ult's going to be a 3K, that's for sure. Sometimes it's just about cleaning up the support ultimates, but you're right, a couple of bad decisions on Lijiang. Been much cleaner on Kings Row so far.
Runaway wrapping around the side here through the hotel. Says he doesn't even notice that he's being zapped from Jester from behind.
Sal's already dead, though.
Yeah, does get taken out. Helix rockets there from Hureg up on the high ground. Get rid of the Genji. So buys a couple seconds here away from Runaway's time bank as they wait for the Genji to go ahead and respawn. Prophet going
Still
forward.
diving.
And they're just shoving all the way back through the choke point, actually. They lose out on the Cox, and they manage to trade back here on a Gesture.
But they're trying to soften people down as the respawning Huxo comes in and looks for resets on the dash. Not necessarily being the most expected, although that's 2 exit frags as Huxo comes back.
Let's get rid of Hureg, but still needs so much more.
It's a very technical play.
Busan pushing back, yeah. They're just going to go ahead and surrender this one out.
It's a very technical play, Achilleos, by Runaway. They look dumb because, okay, you lost a member. Why are you still diving in? But they knew the exact timing when Huxo would come back, and we're looking for dash reset. Speaking of timing, last second contest.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb coming through, not going to quite find that kill. Sound Barrier comes down from Bumper to help keep them in the fight. They trade back here onto Gesture immediately. It's already going to be a good start for Runaway as they nearly have this capture completed onto point A. There you go. Prophet, the only one able to try to keep that one in contention, has to dash out. Gets killed in the end, and point A gets capped. So Runaway now going to be 5 minutes on the clock for their Streets phase.
Not often choosing a 5v6 is the smart move, but that was the move made by Runaway. They jumped in right as Huxo had respawned. Doesn't take long to get back from the spawn, and then the dash resets were available. So cool to see from Runaway, a different way to approach point A attack means they get it largely at the first time of asking. There was no full reset there. So good time bank available. They start the Streets phase, and they start it with 2 DPS ults. That's pretty happy times.
Yeah, they want to be having a much faster one than we saw from GC Busan. Oh, nice little devour there. The defense matrix onto the Pulse Bomb denies out onto Stitch. So dashing around, looking for this pick here onto Prophet, but isn't getting too much damage in the meantime. Hoxal's just going to disappear.
Transcendence
Forward
is
takes
late.
him out. Yeah, both Transcendences invested, and Runaway are going to be the ones getting punished for that. Hoxal and Stitch now being taken out. Tizzy going down as well. Cox trades 1 back, but that's about as good as it gets here for Runaway at the start of this push. They will be shoved all the way back over towards the spawn.
Just a mistake from Runaway. Either you don't use the Transcendence or you use it earlier. When you use it late after Huxal is dead, it means you have 1 less tool to dive in, try to fight with the Dragon Blade. You're still far away from the soundbar they needed to secure point A. That's probably going to actually eat away quite a considerable amount of time unless Huxal can go for one of his trademark Dragon Blades with no support ultimate and make it work.
Could be damn impressive, but he also has to cut through that sound barrier that Closer's been holding on to.
He believes in
Shoving
himself.
all the way forward. Just dashes through, gets that Discord Orbit, gets taken out. Hago finds the hits. In the meantime, Tizzy also invests the Primal Rage. And this is going to be Runaway starting to struggle. GC Busan going to be regaining control. Now looking for a pop out there onto Janu's mech. Even Prophet just picking around the side, get that nice stagger there onto Cox and onto Bumper. They get the pop out, they can just leave the Baby Diva alone, and Runaway are getting absolutely punished hard.
And it's just very hard to have precise ult economy over the course of a series when you're as flexible, when you've tried so many things like Runaway. We saw the best of the best on their defense, but on attack they've made some mistakes. It's Jano, yep, outdeals Prophet, cool.
Just casually with the Baby D.Va. He says, you know what, I don't want to surrender my ult charge
His
here.
blaster's pretty powerful, you know.
Yeah, he just wants to stick in with that one. That's going to be the sound barrier coming through here from Runaway. Hago answering with that transcendence. The triple kill comes through from Stitch. Absolutely annihilates GC Busan, and that's exactly what they needed to get this payload running again. Stitch just throws the team on his back, throws out the pulse bomb, says goodbye, good night, thank you for your service, GC Busan, but you have been relieved of your duties.
Here's the replay as we see it. Oh, the maximum value. It was onto the transcendencing Hago opponent has to ult to not die, and he shares the damn bomb with 3 members. The maximum punishment on the side of Runaway. They haven't quite pushed through point B yet, though.
I mean, that was like a big bang without a Zarya being in the mix. It just finds the golden shot there with that pulse bomb and takes him out, but Prophet is able to answer
And
back
remember,
in here.
they haven't pushed point B yet. They push it
185.
exactly, and now they'll have to return. So rejoicing about the triple kill, some meterage, sure, but now Runaway need to get creative because the terrain actually benefits GC Busan.
Yeah, it bought them a lot of space here, Runaway. They pushed all the way so close into that completion. They still have the ultimate advantage here to try to push forward to get this completion. But
That
the
is a
clock is
wide
yet
angle.
again being drained down.
That was a very wide angle, actually, showing the way that Stitch was coming in. They're going to go down the conventional route, but that means they're going to take a lot of free damage, and it means that Hurek farms his attack visor faster because they opt into taking free damage there. Not that there's a great path to get on when the cart's this far up.
Stitch is going on a secret mission here, dashing in. They try to get in onto Hurek. He sprints his way over to the health pack, keep himself alive. Not too many people are able to play forward at the
Looking
moment
for
here.
a
It's really
clump.
just going to be the tanks. Pulse Bomb comes through from Stitch, not going to be finding anything, but he finds the kill here onto Prophet at the end, but Bumper does get exploded on by Woohyall. Get him out with that self-destruct. Hurek from the backline is firing away with that tac visor, trying to keep these members of Runaway from pushing forward, and so far it's working out quite well because Cox gets left on. He goes down. Payload still hasn't moved much.
And like you say, Runaway have to back away. They get one single push now, trying to make things work, and of course Huxall has to have the Dragon Blade to add to the high drama.
Well, that's going to be it, drawn
using
out.
it.
They're trying to target him, but he already finds both supports chasing in, looking for the hit in onto Hurek. Gets one swipe, and he'll get taken down. The explosion there, I believe, from the Helix Rockets actually finishes himself off. Bit of a misfire. And finally, Runaway will get this completion on to point B. 1:51 on the clock as they try to get most of the way through the Foundry.
I mean, Runaway style is so exciting to watch. It's the antithesis of what you expect at the highest level because their consistency is so low. They have so much individual skill that if they run the same play 5 times, one of the times they will win against any team in the world. Not that far to push, remember. It's only a minute and a half, but it's only a couple of meters, too.
There you go, moving forward, not too far, left to go 25 meters. Is all that they need, but losing out on Najano and Tizzy is going to halt them. So this is crucial time being bought by Busan as they try to maintain control over this payload and stop this from being pushed in.
Biggest query here for Runaway is the fact that it's going to be double support ultimates so soon from Busan. They're going to need another moment of madness, another triple kill from a pulse bomb from Stitch is really what they're looking for to make this work. But they're actually pushing now as GC Busan are backing away.
Yeah, they worked their way back in, and now it's closer than ever. Transcendent's going to be invested
that's
here.
big.
Yep.
Bumper
Both
dies
sides.
with his ultimate available.
Closer still has his, hasn't tossed it out yet. It's going dangerously low, as you can see, and actually just gets hounded down. Doesn't throw out that sound barrier at all, and that might just be costing them the map. Now Huxall with the Dragon Blade drawn out yet again. Tries to get the kill in. Can he make it out in time? The answer is going to be yes. Woohyall makes it back into the mech to try to stay in the fight, but Jester gets smacked down by the Primal Rage
So
Tizzy.
close!
And Runaway seems like they might just be able to do this under 4 meters, pushing forward 2.75. Hurek with the tac visor is desperately trying to trade something back, but he's just not really getting anything. And the rest of his team are getting cut down. They will finally push it in. Runaway able to tie up the score 1-1 as King's Row goes over to them. And Papa Smithy, I think we might have a very long series on our hands.
But we saw it coming, but this is what you want between these two teams. Runaway don't have the consistency, but if you have the high highs enough times, you'll get over the line. They just manage it, basically in overtime, taking down King's Row. I hope we get the 5 maps, because the first 2 have been very entertaining to watch. The consistency factor, the formations, the defensive play, it's all there for GC Busan. But in any single moment, both Stitch and Huxall can win a game, and that's what they were able to do over the course of King's Row.
I mean, that was nail-bitingly close from the side of Runaway to get that completion. Those big moments, the triple kill off the pulse bomb, but then thinking that maybe they wouldn't be able to get the completion onto B.
It's a
Heart rate monitors for these players would be off the charts.
The Runaway fan is the best of times, the worst of times, often in the same round, and that's why they're so damn watchable. GC Busan smarting a little bit. They thought this one, they said 3-0. Of course, that was a bit of a hopeful prediction. GC Busan will still feel good. They still feel that over the course of 5 maps, that consistency factor will get them there. But the Stars, sometimes they can do it too.
Yeah, just need to not lose sight over that first victory there for GC Busan. We're now tied up 1-1 as we go into the break, so don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll see who will be moving to match point, whether it's Runaway or Busan, one step closer to making it into that semifinal. Both teams going to be vying for it so very much, so let's see who comes out on top when we come back in just a few minutes.
에너지가 필요한 순간 핫식스와 함께 핫하게 즐겨라. 올여름 가장 핫한 리그 오버워치 핫식스 에이펙스.
Game, record, and stream without compromise.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are all tied up 1-1 in this best-of-5 series. Runaway picking up that victory fairly narrowly, you would have to say, on Kings Row. But that entire map was a bit of a highlight reel for both sides.
And it's just the best thing to watch because the styles are so contrasting. Runaway, they have so much talent that if you throw enough darts at the board, eventually it's going to be a triple kill from a single pulse, but eventually it's going to be the 3 to 5k on Dragon Blade. And it worked enough times for them to get over the line, but only just on Kings Row. So now, they look to the side of GC Busan to decide where they will be going on control. They were able to cap Volskaya for 6 points when that was chosen by the side of Lunatic High. This time they could just choose it for themselves.
Yeah, very well. Could just go ahead, move back over to that map where they had success. Were able to close out that 3-0. Seems like that recent comfort is likely to shine through for them. But maybe they want to surprise us with something a bit different here. Saw Horizon earlier on.
That would be a surprise, because then you're opting into something like the Genji being able to dash through in narrow corridors. I feel like something to avoid, to my expectation, would be Horizon, but then who knows, you jump onto any of these maps and the lineup of Runaway is always hard to determine, so it's getting ready to roll out, getting ready to see what the eventual decision was here from GC Busan. They have the impetus to decide after losing on Kings Row.
See what it's going to be. Hanamura, Temple of Anubis, Volskaya, and Horizon.
Wow.
In the end.
Maybe we'll see the Doomfist come back from Hureg. We saw it earlier today.
That could be the game plan.
From both sides. Aquino playing it for the Foxes, then on the side of C9, predictably, of course, it was Rascal. So it's a surprise to me to see this choice, because there is certain people who can profit on the side of Runaway, but there's two sides to every coin. It's cool to see Horizon chosen twice in one day.
All right, yeah, that's definitely a rare feat for us here at Apex. It's very common going back to the Shanghai World Cup.
I think this might be the first
cast
time.
This the entire time.
I believe this is my first time casting with double Horizon in a day.
Yeah, I think it might be the first time that we've had it happen for sure. So,
it's the map where anything can happen. Of control maps, this is kind of Kings Row where like every DPS hero could be run.
I mean, the first time out was a bit of a roller coaster, very back and forth just on that point A. Let's see if these guys will deliver. Runaway and GC Busan, one of these teams looking to move to match point as we head over to Horizon Lunar Colony. Yeah, Busan fans really hanging in there, getting louder after that loss on Kings Row.
So I'm suspicious, Kilios. GC Busan and Apex have not played Horizon. I believe they played it a couple of times in Challenge. I don't have the stats in front of me. They haven't played it at all this season, and they went out and chose it against the side of Runaway. So perhaps they have a pre-planned strategy that will really work for them. Junkrat's certainly a very real possibility on both sides, but specifically looks like maybe defense. We'll see if Prof wants to switch over to the Tracer that we more know him for.
I mean, you have to expect that it's one or the other. They either have a fantastic plan for this map that they're going to try to execute on, or they have absolutely no idea what to do.
You know, you don't choose it if you've got no idea what to do, Achilles.
I mean, they had nothing. They had no idea what to do with the other maps, so they came here.
Misclick, of course.
Yes.
I actually don't know how you choose your map in Apex. I assume that you write it down or tell someone. Maybe even click it. I don't know the mechanics behind it, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And it does seem like Prophet will be sticking with the Junkrat, so no Tracer from him this time.
Here we go. Going to be Hawksall yet again. Is this Genji? Why would he be playing anything else?
Pre-planned strategy apparently is enacted by Busan. A lot of adjustments for them. Prophet on the Junkrat. Dive has to be so precise because Junkrat does so much damage if left unchecked. And for now, at least, the high ground just freely firing.
Yeah, especially if they start moving up the stairwell, can just fire those bombs straight down the steps to try to get maximum amount of damage in. But he's actually going to get all the way back over towards the point itself.
Yeah, they're able to get them off the high ground. That's pretty happy times. So already a mini win for Runaway, even if they haven't got a single step onto the checkpoint just yet.
So Have to be cautious about how they're going to approach this one. If they all try to come in the same way, then that could just be Hoxall going down. There you go. Yeah, everybody pushes forward that way. And Prophet will do just like his name says. Comes out on top, walks away with that kill, and delays Runaway a bit longer.
So one of the real things about competitive play that makes Junkrat very attractive, as we're just watching some exit kills here from Busan, as Runaway have to completely regroup.
Oh boy.
Some very nice staggers happening here. But what I want to say about Junkrat is that does a lot of damage, clearly, if unchecked. That part we know. But with the Riptire buffs, the thing about him is that he can repel a push. He can force a stagger instantly just using his ult, and then still be very powerful just spamming out the grenades. So the fact that he can solo get a pick where he's safe and he can just kill someone from very far away makes him supremely powerful. So the buff to the Riptire really is attractive because you can stop 2 pushes yourself and not even putting your body on the line.
Well, there you go. Nanoboo's going to come down. Thrown in onto Gesture. Immediate sound barrier. Gets popped by Bumper. Seems like Runaway still going to be having
another
a bit of a
Riptire.
harder time to get through here. Yeah, Riptire is going to be available. They wrap around the left-hand side. They get in. Now Riptire coming in. Can they target this out fast enough? Hasn't taken any damage and actually gets the explosion straight down onto Bumper. Hoxall, in the meantime, was able to get rid of Prophet as he was channeling the ultimate, but now Runaway have the fast track. They have the forward position here onto the point. They're ticking up, looking for that second. Damn close. We'll be able to chase Gesture out of there as Cox finds that kill. Now Dragon's Blade drawn out by Hoxall. Starts things off with a deflection, but Hureg, he's got that tac visor and just cuts him down immediately after.
2 ticks, almost achieved. Doesn't look like on our
There we go.
screens
They
it
just
has
got it.
been. Yep, they just, like you say, off point have got it. Able to chase them down. They have a lot of ults. We're trying to hold on to them for a snowball capture. Maybe that's going to be denied, but they're starting to kill the last remaining members of GC Busan, and point A finally captured for Runaway.
5.5 minutes just about on the clock, so not going to be too shabby here for them to work with, but definitely not nearly as strong as they would have liked.
Yeah, they hold on to self-destruct and also predictably the pulse bomb, and well, this is creative. We're seeing Closer jump on to the Tourbillon. The swap we saw from Runaway was Bumper onto Ana on the final point, which really did decide the final fight on King's Row. Tourbillon, of course, a little bit more creative.
Oh, Stitch just throwing that one straight to the left. Doesn't find that stick, doesn't find that kill.
Turret taken down, but of course can be remade very quickly.
Yeah, that could have been a really nice opening frag, however, for them if they were able to get rid of Gesture. For now, though, still pushing their way forward. Self-destruct's going to be invested by Janu. It's back into the mech. They will be ticking up, looking for that first one. Uyal in onto the point. Going to go down, gets knocked out of that one as Cox finds the kill. Hurek taken out. The Baby Diva as well. Prophet goes in, finds the stick, gets rid of Bumper. Is it going to be enough for them to dissuade this? Because Gesture has also fallen. First tick comes through for Runaway, and Hoxall nearly has another Dragon Blade. They might just be able to close this one out as they just get them one after the other. Second tick now achieved. Hurek popped up into the air. Has to go back over to the spawn to stay alive. And it's just really onto Huyal and Gesture to try to keep this one going, but Hoxall draws out the Dragon Blade. Can they focus him out in time is going to be the question.
Soundbar,
And
just
the
the right
answer is going to be
time.
no. Gets another one as he gets rid of Prophet. Sound Barrier helps keep him alive. As you say, Gesture goes down. Closer follows suit. A very late team wipe, and Runaway will get that completion.
And it was very un-GC Busan-like from their recent times to go all in on the Tourbillon side. That has such a downside if the turret is taken down easily. Genji can walk up and reflect it. Diva famously can walk up and just devour all the damage. The turret got no work done. And GC Busan were snowball captured in the end. There was no eco push necessary from the side of Runaway. Bit of a curious decision, and that means the time bank is very healthy for the side of Runaway.
I mean, in general, going for the Tourbillon is an all-in. You know, you want to be able to have that Tourbillon build up for the Molten Core so you can defend something like point A on Nimbani. And then usually, if that doesn't happen, then you lose it very quickly. So to go for that on the second point is very puzzling.
I mean, when we sit, we think about, like, okay, they haven't played any Horizon Lunar Colony in Apex Season 4. I believe they've played it in Challenger. The reason they chose it was Junkrat point A and Tourbillon point B. They weren't adaptations. You have to assume those were pre-planned decisions. The Junkrat looked good, admittedly, but the Tourbillon left a lot to be desired. Let's see what their attack strategy is, though. As Runaway, they've been pretty stubborn and just lining up, at least at the start, with the lineup you see on screen.
Runaway just sticking through with this very same composition. I mean, they've been doing the opposite of what we were expecting from them. We thought we were going to be seeing those swaps coming through.
And this is so far, though, right?
Yes,
because
yes. I mean, there's potentially...
you blink, you close your eyes, and Cox is playing McCree, and then everything changes. So For now, at least, like you say, this has been today's norm. It won't necessarily be next week's norm, and it certainly wasn't last week's norm, but this is today's norm.
Keeping consistent so far.
Bumping down. Huxal already talked about the trials and tribulations of playing Lucio, and he comes from a diva background as Bumper. Lost his spot on that to Janu, who now is the resident sub-tank. So the opening here, pretty damn standard from GC Busan, who are going to be jumping on to the Soldier 76. We wondered if this would be Doomfist from him, but no
instant
Doomfist.
leap in goes through. A lot of damage down onto Jester. Now Hago going to fall as well, as they just have a field day in the side room. Huxal just spamming that melee hit will finish off closer in the end.
And Jester has been my big question mark when it comes to GC Busan, especially in early days. He was the famous Winston that Wolf and Atlas were talking about eco leaps with. His initiation timings are quite poor. We often see him jump in and just get bailed out before dying, rather than being on point with his dives. So Jester jumps in first, dies. He's haven't consistently been on point. For now, at least, he's alive.
Just zapping his way to try to build up for that meter. That ultimate as quickly as possible. Huxal goes low, is able to kite back and keeps himself alive here for the moment, but now this gives a lot of room for GC Busan to start pushing forward up towards the point.
They're not sure what they're pushing into just yet. Runaway have fanned out. See them on the point now.
Hiding in the back room here.
Ooh.
Cox already has that Transcendence available, and he's going to use it as they try to push forward just to take the fight straight to Busan and finish them off. Hago going down first and foremost helps them out quite a bit, and now following up here onto closer means that the push just has to be abandoned, especially after Jester goes down as well. GC Busan getting stomped out at every twist and turn. Every time they try to push forward,
when Runaway
have a response.
And when Runaway are able to initiate on their terms, they lead with the Transcendence. You know what happens from there. Stitch dives in, Huxal dives in. Doesn't matter if the ults are up or down. They are fantastic at the dive. It was all about dive when it came to Season 2. So, predictably, if they're not feeling pressured, if they choose when to go, it doesn't matter if the configuration changes. Consistent dive has been great from Runaway, and they have a lot of ults to back them up.
Greg dropping down that biotic field, tries to stay alive. Stitch not quite going to be getting that stick. Not going to be finding any kills there. Huxal also not getting much done with the Dragon Blade, but now here, yet again, into the side room where things started off. They find the kill there onto Hago, only losing out onto Janu. And Bumper
Ooh, fighting outside.
getting the boop off. Closer's going to say goodbye. Huxal just trying to pick up a little bit more percentage there. And yeah, that's one of the first times I think we've gone outside on this map.
I remember seeing Monty and Doa cast some outside shenanigans over at the qualifiers that you and Wolf went to, but you're right, in Apex we've stayed with our feet on the ground. The gravity has been observed so far. So now GC Busan, you know, I feel like they hope they have bug tested enough, because already a lot of the time bank is gone. They got one serious push with 1 minute 20 left, and Tizzy already takes down Hagafin.
Yeah, not a good opening whatsoever here. And Cox has the Transcendence to just keep everybody topped up in the side room. And yet again, they are just going to sweep straight through the members of GC Busan and finish them all off one after the other.
You never want to say full hold when it's a Runaway game, but
it's looking
you know,
like it.
So far, 3 out of 3 times they've been on point with their dive. The 2 times the Transcendence was used, they got a lot of value. This time, not that much value. For specifically the Transcendence, they'd already won the fight. They don't have any support ultimates, but Hureg has jumped onto the Doomfist, and if the first Rocket Punch doesn't work, they probably lose.
Oh, there you go. The first Rocket Punch didn't do anything.
They probably lose.
All right. I like how you hit the same exact...
That's what I was going for. Consistency.
All right, well, they find a kill onto Huxal to start things off, and he has the Dragon Blade available, so that's going to be a pretty crucial one
He'll
here.
He'll be back soon.
So he will be respawning, will be able to get in before this cap does occur. So still could be turned on its head, and Hurek is just going to get hounded down by Janu. Train one here onto Bumper. Pulse Bomb comes through, really weakens Gesture, and they're able to get him in the end. Now Stitch just having a bit of a duel here.
Huxal needs to get
Janu.
maximum value out of the Dragon Blade because GC Busan have traded up. Will he commit to it, or will they just give away point A? 2 schools of thought of how to make this work. They have a bit of time to decide.
Ticking up into overtime here.
How many members can they get? Can they get Transcendence and Dragon Blade?
It's about to come through. I think they have to try to go for this one.
They're gonna.
Huxal will be tagging around. Pulse Bomb
Nice
finds
Pulse
Bumper
Bomb.
off the back. However, they still do have that Transcendence, as you say. Cox going to be popping that one as he tries to get in. Huxal goes low, gets healed back up, draws out the Dragon Blade. First one he has to try to get through is going to be this Diva. Sound barrier out from Busan. That's going to be closer, staying alive. Cox still manages to find Profit, but now Busan have to be staying in onto the point, or else that overtime clock is just going to plummet, but it seems like they already have the fight. Seems like Runaway, yeah, just going to have to abandon this one. Janu's not able to get back in time. Hureg's going to find a nice little kill there onto Cox. They will be pushing forward, looking for this pick here, for this take onto point B, but they're already operating with less time than Runaway finished with.
Yeah, this time the dive didn't work. Didn't feel like Haksal was wholeheartedly into it. Drew out the Dragon Blade, got no value from Haksal. Almost taken down by Prophet. It will live for now. Tizzy's already dead though, and we saw one snowball capture. We might see another.
Yeah, that's going to be Bumper falling, and he has that sound barrier ready to go. Transcendence invested here by Hago as they look to get that second tick coming through. Jono going to get uppercutted here off the point, gets popped out of the mech, and the self-destruct is thrown in from the side of Busan to try to keep the fight going. Bumper
Basically
goes in,
alone.
solo sound barrier, just to try to buy some time. But he's just going to get taken down. Prophet hounding him to the ends of the earth will finish him off, and it seems like it's just a matter of time here that GC Busan will be able to go ahead and close this out. Runaway all in as best as they can as Tizzy goes in with the Primal Rage. Leaps up into the air just to try to delay, but Discord Orb plus him by himself with no healers means that he is just going to go down. Oh, but Stitch actually finds a double kill right before that sound barrier comes in. Could it be? Can they turn this one around? Meteor Strike gets rid of the Tracer, but he's going to be coming back in, and Haksal has a Dragon Blade. Can't go close to Hureg. It actually gets punched to death. But they get rid of Gesture, and Runaway are trying to trade this one back. And my God, I think they might have done it. They might be able to hold on to this.
Yeah, one by one, they came in, and usually that just means extra time, but they're able to repel it.
Again.
It wasn't a double. It wasn't a triple this time. It was only the double, but it was the double they needed at precisely the right time. And Busan used everything. They thought they had it. It felt like the snowball capture, but somehow Runaway have this amazing underdog characteristic of being able to come back from any sort of adversity. They are the anime protagonists. They were the team that had no sponsor that made it to the final, and they want to get to the best of 7 stage today.
Well, they're going to be looking for it. That's going to be the Transcendence invested here by Hago. Prophet tries to throw out that pulse bomb, but it's going to be consumed by Jono with the defense matrix, but they find the pick here on the Tizzy, and Jono is also dangerously low with that mech and is actually going to get popped out. So GC Busan, they get delayed for a little bit longer, drop down below 2 minutes, but with the kills coming through, seems like they will just go ahead and get the win right there. Bumper can't tag in time. So a considerable amount of that time bank is drained down by Runaway, but they can't get the hold in the end, so we will have to go to overtime rounds.
It's about 2 minutes, right? They were able to take, which is a lifetime when it comes to the next attacking phase. Not impossible, but
I mean, considering it was almost a full hold onto point A, 2 minutes is not going to be much to work with for GC.
End of the day, could have been a full hold, like you say, but at the last, it seemed like Runaway were kind of indecisive about what to do. Realistically, I think a lot of teams would have backed off and not gone for the Dragon Blade play, because they only had 3 to 4 members at the time. They chose to throw caution to the wind, and on a different day, maybe Haksal would have got the 3K. That time was chased down, didn't get any kills. Very heroic defense after the pulse bomb. The timer down. But now GC Busan can put their fate into their own hands, because like we say, they picked up 6 points on Volskaya just a few days ago. They had the time bank disadvantage in very similar fashion to Lunatic High. So this map is far from over.
On the attack is GC Busan. 1 minute 46 on the clock. Just shy of 4 minutes here for Runaway. As we will get ready to flip over. But this time, Runaway, the full hold on to A, going to be a much more realistic option. But you can see that Busan are going to be starting things off with Hureg. They're on that Doomfist.
They were very good against Lunatic High at adapting their attacks based on what the enemy was playing. Runaway's playing only one strategy. So right now they feel like the opening pick with Hureg on the Doomfist, previously as most played, almost played 0% of time against Lunatic High. They bring it back here to try to adapt. It's very strong on this map.
Poking out from the high ground here. Haksal trying to build up for that Dragon Blade as best as possible. Gets the dash through, gets punched, and goes dangerously low, but seems like he will be able to stay alive, at least for the moment.
So the reason why they made that adaptation is if they want to fight in the same house, that Doomfist fights even better in close quarters early in the game than Haksal can on the Genji. So smart adaptation from GC Busan. Doesn't get them the maximum, gets them momentum at least on this attack.
They got the pop out on the Janu, actually, taking him out of the mech, and he's still sitting around in that Baby Diva form, trying to build up, almost had it, got the 78%, but then gets taken down. Cox falls. Haksal able to even that one out as he gets rid of Hago. But still already in onto the point as that rocket punch comes through from Hureg, taking out Haksal. We're nearly at that first tick here for GC Busan. For a little bit more. Seismic Slam not going to be enough to finish off Stitch, but Gesture will be able to chase forward, get that Tracer, and honestly, this could just be the cap on the A.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be Runaway backing away, giving up point A in this particular case. Because honestly, if they're able to repel the push onto point B, they have 4 minutes, including the extra time they'll get if they capture point A, to close out the map. So that should be what they're focusing on. And Bumper's taking inspiration from Closer. This did not work for Closer. They sacrificed having a Lucio for the extra damage of having a Torbjorn.
Yeah, interesting change to come through here. Did not pay off whatsoever for GC Busan, but trying his hand at it. He attempts to build up.
He's hoping that in the crossfire of Dragon Blade and Pulse Bomb that the turret will be able to do work. And speaking of Dragon Blade, it's charged now. See if Hoxall gets any value from it.
That's going to be both Transcendences coming through. Hoxall's not really going to be able to get much because of that ultimate coming through. Sound
Watch
Barrier
Torbjorn's
goes through
percentage.
right after that one, but as you say, Bumper jumps all the way up to 91%. He is still untouched, and I believe the turret is still here on the point, but he's that Molten Core to try to delay. Y'all throwing out that self-destruct will get rid of the turret right as that Molten Core becomes available, but Bumper's going to throw down another one, pops the ultimate here, and is trying to buy time for the rest of the team to come up, but he gets taken down by Closer as we enter into overtime. Single tick still not there. Busan haven't been able to get any percentage here onto the point. We already see that Cox has actually swapped over onto the DPS role with that Doomfist going forward to get rid of Prophet, but now Hoxall, Stitch both get taken down. Jester starting to show up with this Winston and do some serious work for Busan as they try to close this one out. But still, it's starting to drop so quickly. They get the tag in right at the last second. They keep this one in contention. Janu gonna throw up that self-destruct to try to zone them back. Gets a pick in onto Closer. Meteor Strike now coming through. He also got the pop out on the Woo-Hall, who goes down. That's the near wipe. There we go, completed right at the last second. And that will be Runaway holding on to point B. No ticks coming through.
And that attacking phase from GC Busan was one of my favorite of the night because we got to see adaptation from both squads. Really smart of Hureg to jump onto Doomfist because we've been seeing consistently the same 6 heroes being opened on every map type by Runaway. Runaway were able to repel the first push from GC Busan by having the dash resets in that advanced choke point in the first phase. So this time they bring the Doomfist in, and Doomfist was able to get the work done there, lose the mech, and claim point A. But the adaptation on the side of Runaway was to not go for a pretty suicidal attempt to go for the full hold, instead to hang back eventually through many different tools and even the Torbjorn decision, buy enough time and stop there from being a claim. So just a single checkpoint onto point B, what we're looking for from the side of Runaway.
4 minutes on the clock.
A lot of
Trying
time.
to get it to happen. So yeah, considerably more time than Busan had available to them.
And is it just the same again from Runaway? I mean, it doesn't feel like that was going to be our expectation today. That's the only reason I say it, is there's some teams we don't even mention. They just run the same 6 heroes because that's the best they're at. With Runaway, previously it had been all about innovation. Today, it's about doubling down on Hoxall's Genji, and it's been worked more times than it hasn't, I guess, the way you look at it for Runaway. Stick with the same. Hureg once again to be on the Doomfist, this time defensively, looking for a pick. For now, occupying the high ground rather than jumping down and looking for a more gimmicky, aggressive push.
Yeah, they're playing this very similar to what we saw Runaway do at the start. Genji on the high ground instead of the Doomfist, but that's just going to be the punch straight in onto Cox, takes him out. Hureg, his target selection, just gets rid of that Zenyatta.
Going to get one single checkpoint.
All right, Stitch making this one work. Busan finally scramble. They realize that it's happening, but already just that percentage coming through despite the nice intro picks coming through here from Busan. Stitch just being a little bit cheeky there with that Tracer.
And Tracer's uniquely qualified to make the most of that, because if any other hero tries to go for the back cap, you kill them, you punish them, you cause a stagger. Like a Mosquito, she flies away, she's able to get away from you. Will be able to be in position to make something happen. She's finally being chased down.
Yep. Can make it over to that health pack. Just needs one charge. Was just a second off. Will get taken down. So there's that stagger you were talking about. So this time the Mosquito is not able to hide out in your apartment and wait till you're sleeping.
Well,
As
a Mosquito being
happens.
squished, I guess, something I can't complain about. But now it means that Runaway take a bit of extra time, a bit of a deep breath. Snowball catch is possible for point B, but getting point A still going to be a frustrating one. I think it's going to be all about a Dragon Blade. And it's Hoxall. Very, very close to picking up his first Dragon Blade of this attack.
Really does have it. Sound Barrier is also almost there, though, from Closer. Can help mitigate a lot of that damage coming through from the Genji.
I hear a nano boost. I have to assume
As
it's on a
do I.
Winston.
It's going to be Gesture, who just takes out both supports simultaneously. And Runaway suddenly have lost out on almost half of their time bank with just the one tick that they've gotten from Stitch's back cap.
Because Stitch was disconnected, it feels like Cox and Bumper have played ultra defensive and haven't found their first ultimates of the round yet. You know, they're going to have them soon, but if the Dragon Blade works, they're going to get point A pretty comfortably. If it doesn't, then it's probably all over for Runaway, and it will be 2-1 up for GC Busan. Plenty of ultimates available for GC Busan. Is the Meteor Strike.
Reg
Disengage.
himself over to safety here. It's going to be the play.
So they swapped Meteor Strike for Sound Barrier. That's pretty big, actually, for GC Busan.
Yeah, huge investment there, and the pulse bomb from Stitch finally throwing that one out. It's not going to be finding anything. Self-destruct invested by Janu. Will not find the pick-off, but that's going to be the Dragon Blade out from Huxol. Gets the pop out onto Wu Hyul. So much more than that. Gets the kill, but then he's got to reshoot the blade. And onto the point, they nearly have the cap. Can they just gatekeep them well enough? Runaway to try to finish this one off. Another nano boost goes through here as Gesture leaps in, goes down to about half HP and does not have a Primal Rage ready to go, so he will get taken out. But they trade back here onto Tizzy. Hurek goes down. And it seems like Runaway have finally done it. They will get the cap, but it's 1:30 minutes remaining for them to try to get this 33%, and I don't think that Stitch is going to be able to back cap his way to this victory.
So if they don't get the 33%, we will have a tiebreaker, which honestly, given how close the series is, isn't necessarily going to be a bad thing. Busan are going to try the Torbjorn again. Feels like this must be a scrim strategy that's been pretty common since both teams are running it, and the Torbjorn turret has been in the same spot for both teams. One serious attack here.
Going for a much more defensive position at the bottom of the staircase rather than off to the left-hand flank.
Note Cox's ult percentage, up to 80% on a second Transcendence. He just used the first Transcendence a moment ago. They used Sound Barrier early, then Transcendence, and they have it again.
Pulse bomb goes down, but Jester actually dies before the explosion. Stitch will the dodge out onto that self-destruct with a recall to keep himself alive, and they'll just go ahead and finish off Wu Hyul. So there's going to be no tanks available for Busan. Transcendence thrown in by Cox. So they try to finish it right here, right now with some time left in the bank. They're already halfway there. Meteor Strike goes up from Rurai, comes
Dragon
back down,
Blade,
but does not find the pick, and he gets taken down by Cox in the end. Sound Barrier invested, Dragon Blade cuts down closer, and Runaway might have finally been able to do it. They just have to get through Gesture with that Primal Rage.
Easier said than
Trying
done.
to keep him alive. He will go down. They think they got it. Yeah, there you go. Self-destruct thrown out just for good measure. We will not be having that overtime. That's going to be Runaway moving to match point as they finish off on Horizon.
Frustrated for a long time, but Cox's ability to get back the Transcendence a second time with his left-click accuracy was the big reason they were able to pick up that second point. If they don't have a support ultimate, they don't pop themselves on the point. They have to hang back and look for a pick more creatively. Wait for the Dragon Blade. They didn't need to wait for the Dragon Blade because the Transcendence guaranteed that advanced positioning was the right call. And Runaway, now up 2-1. Single map away, but we're moving on to Escort. This series keeps on giving. We don't get the best of one tiebreaker, but we do get Runaway with a nose in front.
Yep. Almost there, but GC Busan, given how back and forth this is, this still could very well go the distance and go to 5 maps, Papa Smithy. These guys still have to remain motivated. Cannot be mentally broken as we get ready to move over onto Hybrid and to help, or onto Escort, I should say. And to help with that, seems like we are going to be having a tactical pause called by GC Busan.
I mean, one big reason why the tactical pause needs to be considered is that at the end of the day, if you remember, it was a 3-0 earlier this week, so there was no Escort played between Lunatic High and GC Busan. They've only played Escort twice this season, both times on Dorado. But we already know that their history of map choices doesn't always affect where they chose. They just lost on their map choice. They chose Horizon and lost on it. So we'll see what they decide. Will they just go to Dorado, the map that everyone plays on?
Runner.
Or do they have another plan ready?
Runner's giving Janu some nice little back massage there. I'd say you should give Cox a back massage because he kind of put the team on his back at the end of that.
Stitch had his moments too, it's worth noting.
Oh, for sure. Basically, Runner's got a lot of massages to be given.
Being the doting father of this Runaway team, doesn't feel like he needs to play anymore. His career was extended by the fact that the team demanded that he played to keep them together, but now he's able to do that through the tactical pauses and also the gaming house that Runaway are now in. I thought it was very risky. Remember, they went into a gaming house needing to win their final match and have matches go their way to even stay in Apex.
Yeah.
And then they went in the gaming house, they won the next map, and it's been... the rest is history from there, making it this far as we're seeing some replays on this round.
Dismantling them at the start of that push. But it turns out Huxel with that Genji is pretty good at times.
I wonder if you get really frisky if you're the side of GC Busan and go to Gibraltar, because we saw some very nice play from them with Widowmaker and other kind of innovative decisions. So there's lots of different things you can do. Gibraltar's usually Lunatic High only, so it would be a very surprising decision compared to the Dorado standard. And again, they've only played Dorado this season.
Would be a curveball for sure to try to offset them. Now with a minute remaining.
They've tried a curveball and failed, right?
Yes.
Horizon was a curveball, so maybe you just go.
It's straight down the line.
Dorado would be the normal. Route 66, also a possibility, but I feel like Runaway is a team you want to avoid on Route 66 wherever possible. So on Route 66, we've seen Hawks on both Sombra and McCree, getting a lot of value done on those picks. So to me, you avoid it. Dorado's the obvious choice, but Gibraltar's the tantalizing one.
You know, it's very rare that I'm super excited to potentially watch Gibraltar, but I think this is one of those moments, Papa Smithy.
It's that sort of map. I personally don't enjoy playing Gibraltar. It's one of my least favorite maps, but we see it so sparingly in competitive, and one of the most famous maps ever was, of course, the backdoor cap by Arhan for Afrika Blue way back in Season 1 on that map. So it's usually Lunatic High only, so that's why the chance of it coming up will be very intriguing to see.
Well, that's going to be the end of the tactical pause. So coaches out of the booths, the massages are done for the members of Runaway. But both teams likely needing a bit of a talking to keep them motivated, keep their minds focused here on the matches.
What is
you
that?
can see he's got a nice little light up Runaway logo stick.
He just had a wand. I was like, okay, casting a spell on his team.
You will win. It's not. I don't really have a creative Harry Potter-esque lingo to
that was
stick to
pretty.
that.
That was pretty bad. Actually, yes.
I don't know.
Shouldn't have gone there. If you can't back it up, just stay away. And let's see if Runaway can. That's fair. Runaway so far have backed up, and GC Busan was doing more trash talking, so that's another thing that needs to be backed up in this series. Will it just be the standard Dorado, or will it be one of the other choices here?
All right, Route 66. Okay.
I didn't know about Horizon, and that didn't go the way. The Colony didn't go their way. I don't know about Route 66 either, so let's see if they have another pre-planned strategy. Again, it was 50-50. The Junkrat looked pretty good. The Torbjorn didn't work for them both times, so I think Route 66 against Runaway is bold.
Yeah, I mean, could you see that Sombra come out? Hasn't been a popular pick as of late, definitely fallen off.
But it's almost a requirement, right?
I mean, could just make that resurgence. You get that mega pack very far forward just to shut them out, the one inside of Big Earls, so there's multiple uses for that, and just having those EMPs to help
it's also
stop
the map.
attacks.
Remember, it's also the map that's most likely for Cox to be flexing on either Sombra or the McCree.
All right, well, let's see what's going to happen here as we load up for what could be our final map. Runaway currently at match point. Just need one more to close it out and move into the semifinal. GC Busan, can they extend us to Game 5? Let's see what happens as we load up on a Route 66.
I get it.
It wasn't the guy that started the cheer.
What an awkward time to take a bathroom break.
Yeah. Well, you know, very much like the team, the audience is also flexing because we can see that Cox has moved over onto that Sombra.
It was expected. On this particular map, even before he was playing a lot of DPS like he has this season, he was their Sombra player. So I guess that part is not surprising. And this triple DPS, pseudo-triple DPS, I guess you would say, given that Sombra always is in that kind of gray area when it comes to a support. So just replacing the Xenia in this situation as Cox is doing, Huxal is doing some Winston impressions.
Yeah. Showing his balancing skills there.
I like how, for some reason, with all their amazing abilities, the Overwatch heroes like to show off by standing on one foot effectively with these creative hanging moments. Like, they have so many other things they can do, yet this is the height of amazingness.
I'm going to sit on this roof.
You can fly, and like, you can bring people back from life. That's pretty cool, actually.
This is actually why Overwatch was legally disbanded because the heroes weren't saving people. They were just showing off by standing on roofs.
I mean, when you're a superhero,
The general public got tired of it.
apparently how it went. And like you say, Sombra on both sides. So expectations not shattered there. Cox was really advanced there, looking for a bit of poking and didn't really find too much.
He keeps himself alive, builds up 25%. Let's see, it's going to be the race for the EMP here. Right goes low as well. It's the hack in onto this pack. Just sit on top of this to get that ult percentage running through.
Cox has a lot of ult percentage, a lead of about 20% here, so it could be big for the first EMP. It seems that the game might be decided by that, because no picks yet.
Well, that's going to be, as you say, Hago will go down. Cox gets answered for right away, so this gives Hureg a little bit more room to work with to build up for that EMP and try to turn the tide of the fight. Keep that payload moving in towards point A, drops in. He has massive targets right in front of him, gets that EMP immediately and will throw it down. Gets the pick onto Janu, just knocking him out of the mech, but outside of that, it's not going to be a whole lot of anything. Are able to trade back here onto Tizzy, but now Cox rejoining the fight, throws down the EMP of his own, chasing and trying to get this Tracer, goes dangerously low. He'll be able to get the hack, and Hawksall is able to pick up the pieces, go ahead and finish off Prophet.
And that's ideal. You'd rather that the kills are picked up, the stragglers are taken down by Hawksall than actually taken down by the Sombra. She'll get ult by hook or by crook just with the health packs. So Hack and Blade up in a bit of an awkward spot. Different ways to attack it, but also there's some good defensive lines you can take if you're Runaway. As Cox starts to look for some hacks.
Just trying to find one. We'll get the hack in
Oh,
here.
gets it on Winston,
Onto
that's big.
Gesture. Now he goes dangerously low, but hasn't been finished off yet. Let's see, just a bit of a back and forth here. Hawksall hovering around. Does have that Dragon Blade ready. Likely needs to wait for Cox to build up for another EMP before he can really maximize that potential, because they need to shut down Hago as quickly as possible so that Transcendence doesn't keep everybody topped up through the Dragon Blade damage.
Of course, Sombras feel like they always have ults, but notably, neither Sombra does. Here's that Dragon Blade.
Well, that's going to be the sound barrier. Answered. Yeah, closer, able to get the channel off in time, and Hawksall goes dangerously low. Will get taken out by that self-destruct. Wuyal throwing it at a nice angle, does finish off the Genji. Genji? Words are hard sometimes. But Prophet goes forward, throws down the pulse bomb, not going to be finding the stick, not going to be devoured by the defense matrix, not be getting much, but in the meantime, the rest of the team is still picking up kills here onto the members of Runaway. And it seems like that payload will be moving into the station. Tizzy goes low, jumps his way out with the Primal Rage. You can see Runaway are just going to go ahead and surrender point A.
Interestingly, though, Cox is trying to proxy the enemy Sombra, so Cox and Hureg are fighting almost feels in irrelevant fashion far away from the rest, but it does mean that Cox is the first here with EMP.
Yeah, drops this one down, but Hago was able to get that Transcendence off in time. Great reaction from him. Keeps the rest of the team in the fight, and actually Stitch is going to be the first one that falls. Now GC Busan still just looking to maintain this push. A minute remaining and just a few meters in front of the point. Should be able to get this cap, especially after Bumper goes down.
Axel taken down as well. Bumper close to the ult, but not able to pick it up. So it's going to be the push for GC Busan. Enough members here, and respawn's too far away. So just trying to clear away. Here's the push. Will be point A for GC Busan.
Nice little try there by Janu. Just goes over, picks up the health pack, buys a little bit more time, puts a little bit more ult percentage in onto Cox. But ultimately just can't hang in there long enough. Keep that one in contention. So 3 minutes on the clock for the Streets phase. Stitch goes dangerously low. Prophet just ripping him apart.
And now we keep the Sombra vs Sombra action. Sometimes you see a pivot on the Streets phase away, but there are big health packs around fight areas where you can make some degree of Sombra play work.
Yeah, 2 megas that can really change the tide of these picks coming through. Hureg nearly having that EMP ready to go. Will get jumped on, has to leap back. Now has it. That health pack pickup, so let's see how he's going to use it. Just charges straight in forward, drops it down, but already has lost out onto Closer and Hago. They will trade back, getting rid of Janu. Hawksall going down as the Primal Rage gets invested from Gesture, and actually the payload will keep moving. Runaway do not come out on top of that, despite both supports going down for Busan.
Well, the critical factor was actually off-screen in the fact that Cox died with 2% to go to EMP. At the same time, when we saw both Sombras dive in, poke for damage, it worked fine for Hureg, he could disengage. Cox died. It meant that even though they got both supports down, they were mowed down where they stood. Waiting for respawns here. Cox actually shows. I don't even know if he'd throw down a translocate. He didn't, he just dies.
Yeah, he just charges into his death, and now GC Busan going to look to take the fight right here. Transcendence. And that sound barrier going to be invested, so a stacked support ultimate's not going to be the greatest here from Busan, but if they can keep the payload moving, then it might be worth it all the same.
Axel slashes some air as well, gets no value from the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, and that could have been the game breaker right there for Runaway to try to turn that one around. Cox finally just throw down the EMP here. They find the kill onto Hago, but they need so much more than that. It's still 1.5 minutes with the payload sitting right in front of B. There we go. Stitch finally picking up the pieces, gets rid of closer. They finished off Hago. And now seems like they might be able to get this halt, but it's still going to be trading back coming through from Busan as Janu and Cox both go down. Now Bumper getting booped to death, and Prophet winning the Tracer battle gets rid of Stitch. And this might just keep on rolling into the station. Point B, a few meters away, and GC Busan have still managed to come out on top somehow.
Yeah, well, you have able to also eat the pulse bomb as Stitch threw as he was dying. So yeah, knocking on the door. Can they even get a contested? Stitch is already back. Trace is pretty fast, it turns out.
You see Cox, yeah, moving away
Can't
from the
drop
Sombra.
down. He doesn't have Transcendence. No reason for him to. So he's on the high ground. Swapped off for the Sombra. Not getting any value from it. Looks like GC Busan pretty healthy. It's over 2 minutes for this hangar phase.
Second lease on life gained here for Busan as they try to get this completion. It's been a very bumpy road for them, but you have to say that, you know, Runaway have been misplaying a lot of these engages. Cox getting picked off. As I say that, yet again happens. Hago, or Hureg rather, finds him into the back, takes him out, and Hago will go down. Pretty much everybody that I'm talking about is just dying on screen, I guess, so just cursing everyone back and forth.
Put your Death Note away, Achilles.
It's going to be Runaway getting cleaned up as Busan keeps trying to move this payload forward. Several ultimates in the bank. Prophet about to have that pulse bomb as well. Y'all, the only one that's really far away from having his, but even he is going to be building up quickly as he gets that nice little boot kill there onto Janu.
The 1x1 was working on point B defense on Horizon, but here it looks a little bit very uncoordinated on the side of Runaway. Not a true dive from them. True dive works, but these staggered dives have not been working. They do have a lot of ultimates available though, and only a minute left for Busan, so a full reset may be enough to stop the map.
All right, well, they had enough pressure to go ahead and force out that Transcendence from Hago, but Cox is going to go down right as the EMP hits from Ureg, immediately targeting him out, and Bumper follows shortly thereafter, even through the sound barrier, just gets rid of all of it. And GC Busan will keep on pushing forward. Hawksall using the Dragon Blade, now in behind the team.
He's all alone.
Yeah, he's all by his lonesome. Will get taken out in the end. We are just meters away from this completion. Will get halted, 1.36 away, but now the Primal Rage invested from the side of Jester, just trying to get the smack-ins, and that's going to be enough. 28 seconds remain on the clock as GC Busan gets the completion on Route 66.
And the queries we had about consistency, I think, were very clear as Route 66 dragged on. It was very close at the start of the map, but as it went on, some very poor decisions, some very overall shot-calling queries we would have about Runaway kind of meant that they didn't have a serious 6-on-6 fight really throughout the second 2 stages of Route 66. They kind of surrendered any sort of hope of that as members were trickling in and dying one by one. Not a huge time bank by any means, but this is not an auto-complete escort map either, so it's going to be a big ask for Runaway to acquire a bigger time bank than the 28 seconds than GC Busan right now hold.
I mean, they were always kind of just, you know, scraping by right at the last few seconds there on this push, GC Busan, but they get it in the end. Runaway at the moment. We'll have to see what they want to flip over to, because no surprise, Hureg is going to be operating on that Sombra, and Runaway should be very much ready for it. But what do they take to try to counter this? Did they just go for the Tracer Genji yet again?
It would mean no Sombra to answer Sombra, which either works emphatically or could lead to 3 minutes being shaved off because you can't battle against the health pack and positioning advantage. If Sombra gets ahead, as also just wants to inspect what's going on. This actually works better against Runaway than it would against any other team. Usually, you know, in the early days of Overwatch, you went over and scoped and looked for hero configurations that wouldn't really work as seriously as he's actually going along the side.
That
would
is
be
bold.
very tricky.
You die right there. I mean, granted, Lucio still can rejoin very quickly, but that would have been a nice little intro advantage.
The reason it works against Runaway is that if you see Cox on not a sub-healer, you go, okay, I know more of what to expect. Because they actually have multiple members flexing, there's a big information advantage you can get based on who is playing the Lucio, who is playing the healer on the side of Runaway. So I was able to get a little bit. Now they actually will find out the Runaway is going uber standard.
Greg pushing forward, straight into the face of Cox. Not going to be able to get too much damage in. And actually doesn't take a whole lot either, so Health pack's not going to be doing them a whole lot of good at the moment.
I mean, GC Busan want to fight around health packs. They won't have battles over health packs like it is when Sombra versus Sombra. It's going to be a very different tempo of fight, but Cox is already dead.
Really aggressive push forward here from the members of Runaway, and Hoxell's just going to get cut down from behind as Prophet finds that kill, and Tizzy can't even make it out with the exit.
They decided to have a fight over a health pack. That was a poor decision.
Yep, especially now that they get the pop out there onto the Diva. As Janu yet again, for maybe the 1000th time in this series, gets knocked out of his mech. We'll have to jump off the map to get the reset. That much more of a stagger, and so far GC Busan have a very strong hold.
Yeah, the moment that you dive in and see a hacked health pack and you're fighting around it, you've done goofed. The mistake was already made seconds before in the shot call.
You can't unhack it.
No. And you can't win the fight because they just stand on the health pack and you lose. So don't do that again, Runaway, if you want to not be full held. And yep, there's the EMP predictably.
Yeah, gets dropped in. Cox goes down first and foremost. Rurag dropping down to 28 HP. Is able to transcend his way out, or translocate his way out. He killed the transcending one. As the pulse bomb will claim the life of Gesture. So both Winston's going to be traded, but yet again, Runaway will be having a hard time trying to get this payload moving. Coxel goes up. It's a lot of damage down onto Hureg, but still it's just not going to be enough to finish him off. And all in all, I think they went forward maybe 6 inches.
But they haven't rolled back. So even though an EMP was invested, it didn't lose the maximum, did Runaway, and they now have at least a sound barrier to show for it. 3 ultimates, soon to be 4 on the side of GC Busan. Oxal playing with fire, but gets the kill.
Yeah, takes out Hago. It's going to be a nice one, but now draws out that Dragon Blade, is trying to chase down closer. Gets in behind him with the boop. Just draws a little bit more distance between them. So only just going to be the 1 kill, and GC Busan maybe looking like they could go for another re-engage here at the last second as Runaway starts getting this payload moving. They have plenty of ultimates if they want to try to stop them. With 1 minute and 42 remaining on the clock, they might just surrender this one over and try to hold them at the streets phase. We'll have to see.
Hureg looking to proxy some members way behind the troops, but with no ultimate to show for it.
I think they go for this one, yeah. Charging up. Sound barrier is ready to go.
Hoxell's
Hago
dead.
has already used that Transcendence, and Hoxell does go down, as you say. Bumper throws out his own. It's not enough to keep him alive. Now the Transcendence from Cox has to be invested as they drop down in on top of the point and try to keep this one going forward. It gets rid of closer with the Pulse Bomb while he had that sound barrier available, so a crucial pickup. But if they can't get this completion onto point A, then it might be all for naught. Runaway just 4.73 meters away as Cox gets smacked into the ground. Gesture with that Primal Rage comes out on top, and it seems like Busan will be maintaining control for the moment.
The moment that you invest those ultimates, though, both support ultimates down, how are you actually going to close out this map? They don't have Dragon Blade yet. When Hoxell dies, if you use ults, you have to fight perfectly. Focus down every target because you need everyone's DPS to help. You don't have a true frontline DPS like the Genji. They weren't able to do that. They couldn't execute on it, and the execution has been up and down predictably from Runaway today, but we're seeing the downside, and now 30 seconds left. 3 ultimates, including Sound Barrier, and there's the EMP. Might just all be over here.
Gets dropped in, and Tizzy goes down first and foremost. They get a sleep dart in on the Prophet, and they don't get the kill! He gets the recall off in time, throws out the Pulse Bomb, and he even kills Hoxell! Are you kidding me? Runaway! How did you mess that up?
That was a tilter, Achilles. That is definitely a sign. The mental game is starting to move away from them. Some cleanup here. Huge cheers from the Busan fans. Should have been academic from the side of Runaway. It wasn't.
Prophet is just ripping them to pieces. Killed Janu before he can make it back in the mech. Finishes off Cox. Kills Bumper. Now we're into overtime. And Runaway, they still have to go the distance in this one. Hoxell draws out the Dragon Blade. A last-ditch effort, but he gets taken down immediately. And GC Busan, they're going to keep the ball rolling. They close out Route 66. We're going to Game 5.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. The young Runaway gets a lead, gets excited, is 1 map away, and then they've kind of spent it before they've truly earned it, and they end up not being able to close it out. That was the story in the Season 2 finals. Different teams, different day, different era. But unfortunately, you saw the mentality was broken. They call it mental boom in Korea, and that's what happened the moment they weren't able to observe the kill onto the 150 HP Tracer. There is that little bit of wiggle room after you're woken up where you should be able to burst down 200, 250 HP, but 150 is an easy one to do. They couldn't execute on it by the end. Hoxell was slashing air, and now they maybe need to be the ones to draw a tactical pause of their own, because if I'm Runner watching that happen, I need to go talk to my troops because their mentality is under question.
But didn't they burn it, actually?
I don't know if it was Runaway or the side of...
I think it was. I think the second one was GC. I think we had one after the first game when
We've
Lijiang
had a few
got closed
tonight,
out.
so you might be right on that, Achilles.
Unfortunately, I don't have a tracker, and I forgot to take a note of it, but I'm pretty sure that after GC Busan closed out Lijiang Tower, they invested their tactical pause. And at this point, if they wanted to buy some time, they would have to do a roster swap, which means that either Runner or Kaiser would be coming in.
Oh, you're correct. You're correct. They weren't able to do it. They'll be going to Hollywood here as the final decision, so not having the ability to calm down the players may be an issue. We're going to have to scrutinize the first round here, whether it's attack or defense for the side of Runaway, because that ending on Route 66 was not clean.
It certainly was not. It is absolutely filthy. But now Hollywood, it all comes down to this. The final map winner of this will be moving forward into the semifinals as the first seed from Group B.
And it's been up and down. Runaway able to bring it up to 2-1. Now we go to match point. Could go either way. A best of 7 beckons for the winner. The losers bracket match. A tricky one, in fact. Beckons for the loser.
All right, here we go. Map 5. GC Busan have pushed us to the limit. They have pushed Runaway to the limit. It seems like they maybe have finally tilted them and pushed them overboard. Let's see if Runaway can maintain that mentality. No tactical pauses to utilize as we load into Hollywood to close out this best of 5 series.
I get it.
Honestly, I think that Busan just matched that cheer, despite the fact that the majority of the crowd here is in support of Runaway.
GC Busan's numbers keep increasing, Achilles, and they have a lot of reason to be in concert with their optimism. It wasn't the 3-0 they predicted, but it's still been sparingly a very good showing from the side of GC Busan. Runaway will be starting on attack, and I think the Genji is almost guaranteed. 0% game time on Lucio today, you'll remember, from Haksal, which has certainly not been the norm over the course of Season 4 of Apex.
Yeah.
He's played no minutes of Winston. That was a different one for him in Season 3, but Lucio has been by far his second hero. Ureg starting on the Sombra, was winning the Sombra battles pretty decisively against Cox, who then decided not to opt into Sombra on attack, and that didn't work.
Yeah, did not work at all. I mean, Cox overall has looked rather deflated today. It hasn't been great performances from him. Even on this Zenyatta, we think back to their series
Dying a lot.
just a few days ago, and he was the one getting the kills, but like you say, he is getting picked off over and over again.
Well, Runaway on attack and need to shake off what was a very sloppy loss on Route 66 being full held into a better attack phase here. They've been going for their standard, no adjustments at all. Compared to other days, Cox has not been on a true DPS, only Sombra was the most in that case. Very defensive start from GC Busan, but still Hureg is taken down.
Yeah, Haksal getting that nice pick, and Ureg was only able to build up 19% for that EMP. We'll be able to join back into the fight, but Runaway are in onto the point. They're already going to have that first tick coming through, and now GC Busan have to be the ones trying to push back in to take control over their point, but they've already surrendered 2 ticks.
Now, when are they actually going to make the commitment? We're actually seeing commitment from Haksal. They're going aggressive, Runaway.
This is so bizarre. Runaway are pushing GC Busan back towards Runaway's own spawn.
We saw the
as they
same
come over the
swap on-
kills. The Reg's going to go down, Jester as well, and that's just going to be the cap, you'd have to say, here for Runaway.
This is the hybrid special today. We saw this earlier on King's Row. The role reversal was enacted by GC Busan. This time it was actually done by the side of Runaway. Like you say, forcing them into questionable terrain. Having the terrain advantage and being able to pull that off, even with Haksal going down. Ureg will stick on the Sombra for now. First EMP should be in soon.
I mean, multiple ultimates about to be available here for Runaway. Haksal getting the Dragon Blade. Transcendence is already up here for Cox. This is exactly what I was talking about when I said, like, he needs to be able to get those kills, to get those accurate shots coming through off the left clicks. He's been able to do that. Now we'll see if Transcendence does get invested as they charge forward. Haxal's going to be drawing out the Dragon Blade. Finds one, finds 2 as Ureg goes down. They're just doing this to create distance with the payload. 2 kills, all that they're going to be finding here is Haksal will just go ahead and get a third with the casual little left click there on a gesture.
Hurek still hasn't been able to farm up his first EMP as the cart reaches the 50% point of the entire map. He's been very well held. Good Dragon Blade decisions being enacted there. Stitch hasn't used the pulse bomb yet, but we'll start to look for one to try to stuff the defense starting to be put together by Busan. Closer, still 33% away from the sound barrier. Hurek better be worth it. The EMP from Hurek better be worth it.
He spots out Stitch on the high ground. Pulse bomb not going to be finding anything. In the meantime, Prophet goes forward, finds Cox. Now the EMP is going to get dropped in. This is the fight that Busan want to take to try to shut down this push from Runaway. So far, not really going their way. They get the pop out onto Janu, but lose out onto Hago right off the bat. But finding a kill onto Bumper. That does allow them to trade back, does allow them to maintain some semblance of control over this payload, at least for the moment.
Adjustment had been made by Runaway. They actually had Cox move on to the Ana, then instantly swap back. So right now back onto the Zenyatta, but no percentage accrued between the two switches. Jester went too far in and got taken down, so Winston's going to be out of position for a while.
Rollback starting to come through here. Runaway still needs to make it around that final corner. And up to the gateway. Get this completion onto B. With 3 minutes 13 on the clock, you'd have to say it's going to be highly likely that they're able to get at least very close to it. Pulse bomb comes through, slips right through that defense matrix, and almost finishes off Huyal. He will go ahead and just throw the self-destruct, finds the pick in onto Janu actually right at the last second, but they lose onto Gesture at the same time, and Runaway is looking to trade up. Haksal going in deep yet again with the Dragon Blade, but will be focused out. Prophet finds the kill, and that nice little sound barrier investment there from Closer just helps keep them all alive.
Able to take down Diva, the mech, and also the pilot. So it's a bit of a feel-good moment, but they need Haksal to come back. Won't have the Dragon Blade, of course. They're not really in position of enough ults to actually force the capture of point B. So looking for picks.
There you go. Invests the pulse bomb there, takes out Gesture, and they also get Prophet at the same time. So now Runaway looking to move this forward. EMP comes down, Cox targeted out first and foremost, right as he gets that Transcendence available. So poor timing there for them. Runaway still going to throw down that sound barrier to stay in the fight. They get kill in onto Hago. Just need to get rid of these tankier members of Busan as Gesture gets ready to rejoin the fight. Nearly have the pick off there onto Wuhyal's mech. Goes low. Forces Stitch back, and he makes it over to that health pack in time and has the defense matrix to just delay as much as possible. No, Closer. He comes in and just has that hook straight into the back of the head. Stitch goes down. Bit of a cheap shot, you'd have to say. But Runaway will be staved off. Now under 2 minutes left on this push.
And it was a poor decision by Bumper to use the ultimate. They didn't really have the other abilities to force. That's why I was surprised that they felt strong enough they could just take down one member and push the cart. The respawns are about to come in, so sound barrier usage not ideal. Thought those days were over when Runner was no longer in the lineup, but because they keep flexing around different Lucios, the timings do change from player to player. That one was off, and now they need to find a new way to approach. It may take the third Dragon Blade of the street space to make it happen.
Stitch looking for a target here for this pulse bomb. Just cuts down Hureg with the pistols. Dashing through. Finds the backside of Wuhyal. Doesn't want to invest this pulse bomb unless he desperately needs to. Saw how low they were going to be, but now the sound barrier just helps keep him in the fight, at least for the moment. Gesture goes down, Haksal with the Dragon Blade. Gets rid of the mech. Takes down Wuhyal. Gets rid of Closer, and that's going to be the completion onto B. At long last here for Runaway. 2 minutes 20 on the clock as they start working their way over to the parking spot. A little bit further to go. Runaway need to be as dominant as possible here if they want to close out this series and stop GC Busan from advancing straight into the semifinal.
Had to use a lot there. Haksal has very low percentage towards B. His upteenth Dragon Blade of the night. No other real abilities to force, only the self-destruct to affect positioning. Meanwhile, GC Busan have a very large amount of ultimates for them, so they have a lot of different options to repel the push. They can push up, they can be defensive. Haksal takes down Hagopen in the back with Transcendence up, so hoping that there wasn't going to be a true commitment. And speaking of commitments, there's the EMP.
The EMP gets thrown in, but Hureg just can't find Cox, so he's not able to take him out. Now Prophet and Gesture both going down. Wuhyal popped out of the mech yet again, will fall. And this payload's just going to keep on moving, and that was Busan investing the likes of that EMP. Hureg, of course, will be able to build up swiftly for another one. But this is so many meters that Runaway are building up, getting closer and closer to C. Really, it's going to be Busan going in for one last contention on this payload.
mismanaged their ultimates a little bit there, GC Busan. Like you say, sure, the Transcendence is up, but can be answered by the sound barrier. Already most of the way to the next Dragon Blade.
Almost got taken out, but Stitch throws down that pulse bomb, finds the stick in onto Gesture, and gets the kill. Self-destruct thrown in by Wuhyal's not going to be finding any picks, but they'll zone them back for the moment. But now the sound barrier comes down from Bumper, and everybody pushes straight back forward, trying to close out the map. Algopion will go ahead, invest his Transcendence, and it seems like it's bought them a decent amount of time. It's now down to about 45 seconds. Runaway struggling to get back in onto the payload. Huxall going low, needs to get heals coming through as he's got that Dragon Blade, which could be game-breaking here for Runaway to get this completion, but hasn't found that opening quite yet.
Waiting for Stitch to respawn and get back in. We'll be there soon. There's the Dragon Blade.
Draws this one out, finds Gesture, but can he get more? Payload's pushing forward. They need to get in here and tag this one. Closer tries to, but the boot back comes through. EMP now dropped in by Hureg as he rejoins the fray, but has to jump to the side, and that is going to be Runaway finishing it off with 16 seconds remaining.
It's good to see a smart decision from the side of Huxall when it came to use of Dragon Blade. Farmed it up. You could see him using it. In one of the earlier maps, he had those decisions where he just pulled the Dragon Blade of 1 to outplay 4. This time he waited for the respawn from Stitch. They committed with all their ults. It's the good side of the coin. The smiling side of the coin also from Runaway. They get the full capture, not with a huge time bank. That was already enough for GC Busan to pick up the win on Escort last time out. So at least they have an entire map completion to defend.
They need to have a very strong defense here, but chances are Runaway is probably just going to stick in with the same selection of heroes as they have been doing over and over again. Not going to be seeing any flexibility from Cox moving off to Zenyatta. He's just going to be sticking with this one by the look of things.
So will Hureg open up Sombra? Will he open up McCree? Because against the side of Lunatic High, in these spots, he was opening McCree to answer Who Are You coming through on Genji. And as we've alluded to many times, the Season 2 final, Huxall and Who Are You are intrinsically linked in being those monster Genji players. So waiting to see what Hureg decides. Sombra is certainly an option, and the EMP is very powerful and can be farmed up for a first point, first push capture, but you may need the McCree if Huxall gets rolled.
See how long he's going to stick through with it. Couple decent forward health packs that he can go for.
Since he's got the squad goals sprayed on the floor. I need this primal rage. It'd be good.
Let's get it as quickly as possible.
Let's see if Hureg will be sticking, and it does look like he's going to be opening Sombra. So it's going to be a lot less committal. What they want to do is usually you want to go around the backside, hack the big health back, and then just fight around that. And also go for the very defensive health back as well. So for now, he's in security, Hureg. Yeah, they will try and fight around the backside. They don't have the health pack hacked here just yet, though.
Prophet, oh, he's just going to go forward, try to get a little bit of harassment onto Tizzy. Finds the shots, but
Hureg's dead.
Taken down, and Hureg will follow suit. Built up 31%, but can't quite see if he got the hack in onto that health pack yet, or not. If he didn't, then that is going to be pretty devastating for them as they just get picked off one after the other. Tizzy comes up with a kill on the closer. Hago as well, just to maximize the stagger onto the support members.
And Stitch has basically a Dragon Blade, sorry, not Dragon Blade, a Pulse Bomb already, the Dragon Blade halfway up.
That would be impressive.
Exactly. If Stitch got a Dragon Blade, then, yep, we might have to remake this map. So
breaking the game.
Let's hope not to see that.
Waiting for that arcade mode, random ultimates.
That'd be a fun one. Different heroes with the Mercy ult, if had the cooldown reduction, would be very overpowered.
Be absolutely absurd. Stitch going through, tries to get that pulse bomb thrown down, but the defense matrix there to go ahead and consume it. Huxall and Tizzy both going down, but Stitch, yet again, making use of the pistols, fires back, gets rid of Gesture.
Can't be available.
Been popped out of that neck. You say it's available, but not if Hureg is dead.
And that was really big because Huxall was dead, trying to overextend to look for the Dragon Blade. Very close in percentage to it. If Hureg could have found a safe EMP, maybe this could have been the capture. They don't get it though. Runaway reset. That's almost half the time bank drained out by the side of Runaway on defense. And now, really the thermostat is being cranked, but being cranked at GC Busan.
Good so far. Hureg yet again just getting targeted immediately as he shows his face. All of this could be undone if Cox is on the ball with His Transcendence
EMP.
pop. You can see EMP pushing forward, looking for it. Cox, he
Got
manages to get it off in time, keeps himself alive, and in the fight, Bumper also has that sound barrier ready to go.
And instantly they're like, well, we got to pull back. That one's failed. So that was so big from Cox. You had 0.5 seconds or less. You see the translocator. You press Q or you lose. Very nicely done.
Yeah, very well timed there. Profit goes into the back line, however, and Cox will be picked off now just moments before that sound barrier comes in, as is Janu. He's already popped into the mech, however.
Dragonblade's been used too. Off screen.
Oxalt, yeah, can't quite see where he's at.
That's
but
nothing.
Okay, let's turn around. We'll go ahead and get a little view of him dying. And it seems like Busan will be able to push back forward. Still able to get that pick off on the Cox, just helps them push in. And this is likely going to be the surrender onto point A.
You say that, it's not 100%. There could be an idea, but they're patrolling the exits pretty well here.
Janu's going in.
Yeah, they're going to commit to it.
All right, he's by himself for the moment. Does hold this one out. The hack comes through, and he's already popped out of the mech. So not a great start here for Runaway, who try to retake this. Primal Rage going to be invested as well by the side of Gesture. So at least getting rid of that ultimate is good for Runaway, even if they do lose out onto the point. Dinge goes low, manages to keep himself alive, almost finds the kill in. Oh, there we go. Dashes through, drops down. Gets a smack in onto Profit to finish him off, but with him off the point, it's just fancy footwork from Stitch. In the end, can't do enough to stop that capture onto point A. So 3 minutes, 20 seconds is what Busan has to work with as we move into the Streets phase.
Other teams for sure would have just given it up because they were patrolling the entrances to contest the point very well. But that's not the style of Runaway. They do look for the commitments, they look for the delay, and they feel like the free meterage is always given at the start of the Streets phase of this particular map. On Hollywood, you don't often fight just as the payload enters the Wild West or the Old West stage, so I don't feel like they cost too much to look for that extra 30 seconds they shaved off. But Reg's looking for EMP, but right now doesn't really have good eyes on it.
We're going to hack in on the Hawksall. Can they find the kill is going to be the question. Drops down the EMP, only finds a couple of members with that one, and Stitch actually finds the enemy's Zenyatta at the same time.
But tank line is down as well.
That it is. Stitch is able to try to even that playing field as Wu Hyul gets popped out of the mech.
Oh, so it does end up being a successful defense and another stagger. Janu is in pilot form, but it's pretty predictable which side people are coming from, so maybe with the Bunny Buster. He already won this trade earlier.
Yep. Oh, can he make it back in? No, not quite going to happen, so he will get taken out, but Stitch goes ahead, finds a kill in on the Prophet. Now the Dragon Blade gets thrown out. Nice deflect. Kind of getting a lot of that damage coming through. We will have Cox popping the Transcendence.
Both support ults down.
Paco uses his. Now sound barrier comes through from Bumper. As Runaway tries to take this fight yet again, and Hoxa will find a kill in onto Gesture. Big investments from both sides. It seems like Runaway will just be maintaining control. They want to drain as much time off this bank as humanly possible, and they've already got it down to about 1 minute 45. But with Hawksall going down, GC Busan are going to be pushing forward yet again, trying to get this payload moving.
Yeah, both support ultimates were basically blown to answer the Dragon Blades. It's a success from the side of Runaway. The exit frags mean the payload will push a little bit. Only 1 minute 30 though, so once again, timings are getting very, very short. It was a similar story for Runaway on attack.
Runaway just sitting up onto the high ground, doesn't have that self-destruct yet.
No support ultimates for GC Busan means that just a single pulse bomb sticking can stuff a push.
Stitch and Prophet both going to have theirs available. Up onto the high ground goes Wu Hyul, looking for the pick onto Cox and almost finds it. Takes it dangerously low. He's able to stay alive in the meantime.
Surreal, they're fighting so far away from the point.
Yeah, self-destruct's going to actually take out Janu. That's 3 members dead on the side of Runaway, so Busan should be able to get this payload moving forward. And maybe even just get the completion right here. Primal Rage infested from Tizzy. This corridor makes very quick work
Cox
of
as
him.
well, Transcendence.
Yeah, they really want to try to take this fight. Oxel goes forward, doesn't have the Dragon Blade available yet, and is going very low. Just has to rely on Cox with the Orb of Harmony to try to keep him alive, and Cox is going to get picked off, as is Stitch. Now the tank's getting ready to rejoin the fight. They want to try to drain the clock as much as humanly possible. It's now under 30 seconds. Oxel goes low and will get chased down by Prophet, who comes up with a double kill.
Consistent strategy of Runaway to keep these fights going, to never surrender a cap, to use multiple ults to do it. And they get another 30 seconds, and it could be critical. It could mean we only have a single fight when it gets to the last phase here, but it could also cost them because they're dry. They only have Huxall's ult, and Huxall's dead, waiting for that respawn.
Yeah, I mean, that was like 2 CP on point B by Runaway. A lot of investments. Is he going to be very far away from that Primal Rage now? Needs to build that up rapidly because Gesture nearly has his.
And honestly, the support ultimates for Runaway are needed because both are up for GC Busan, and the most you're going to get from Huxall's Dragon Blade is 2 support ultimates, no more no less, is really what you're going to expect. So let's see another consistent here. Let's see how many spot ults they get. There's one.
Well, yeah, Profit finding the pick off onto Tizzy. Going to be a nice start of the fight for Busan as they try to keep this payload moving. Now the knockout onto Janu. Things going their way. Stitch has gone down. 3 pickoffs, and Haksal just barely manages to get on Hago, get a kill on Hago right before he goes down, and he invested a Dragon Blade into all of that. So Runaway going to be in a very rough spot as they desperately try to respawn quickly here. Busan on the final stretch. 45 seconds remaining.
Let's see if Cox can once again be on form with the Transcendence, because it's usually the cleanest answer. Stitch does get the pick onto Hago, and that's something, but still a lot available for GC Busan. They don't have to fully roll back.
Yet again, it's a moment where Cox has to be Johnny on the spot with this ultimate, pop it as soon as he hears Hurek go for that EMP.
Eska had so many great mind games with that Translocator usage in Season 3. Let's see if the mind games can continue here. Tracer Duel has been fun to watch today. Profits won it at times.
Snaps back. Stitch here to keep himself alive. Almost had a victory there. Drops it down, and they will be finding Cox right at the start of the fight. Hurek finishes him off. Sound barrier comes in from Bumper.
Big boop, actually, on the
Really
side of
massive one
Bumper.
here. Oxalt nearly having another Dragon Blade ready to go. Does get top back up, stays alive in the fight. The self-destruct from Janu finds Hago, puts it. That's going to be an excellent pick-off here for Runaway. Now the Dragon Blade out, cuts down closer. Needs a little bit more than this one as it's now into overtime. GC Busan, can they make it back in? Can they keep this fight going? Jester says yes as he takes out Haxel, but Cox has rejoined the fight with that Transcendence. The back goes Profit. He's all on his lonesome. He'll get taken down. It's absolutely plummeting.
Oh!
The leap forward from Jester keeps it
Jester down
tagged
again.
in. But they're just towing back and forth on the line, and that's going to be it. It plummets. Runaway will get the completion. They'll take down GC Busan all the way into Game 5. They get the victory on Hollywood, and that is going to be them moving forward. First seed from their group into the semifinals.
And Runaway once again, you see Runner bursting into the booth and celebrating his charges. His team has been able to force so many 5-game series this season, but unlike history, they're actually winning these 5 games. They're actually coming back. They're actually being able to be clutch at the end. And honestly, it's a lot of individual moments.
Well, that is player harassment.
Yeah, that's not good. Don't kill Stitch, please.
I mean, so last time he broke the booth, but he might have broken Stitch's nose this time.
They need him. They actually do need him a lot. So
his eyes
calm
need to
down
be
here.
functioning.
Tizzy's trying to distract. He's like, guys, look at me.
Look at me. This didn't happen.
I think Stitch will be okay.
Okay, seems like he's fine.
The rest of the team will be okay as well. Very entertaining scenes, for the best and the worst reasons. In the Runaway booths, Runner's like, well, I'm going to have some explaining to do later. A phone call from the parents, perhaps.
Definitely get him an ice pack for that eye.
Well, get him a Sprite or another celebratory drink as well.
A
They were able
Trevi,
to get over the
perhaps,
line.
or a Hot Six.
Well, that's a good decision. We are sponsored by those two fine people. GC Busan will wonder how this happened. They came in very, very confident. They were the percentage team. They were the more consistent team. But it's funny that the high highs of Runaway were just enough to carry them over the line. So many times they did things that no other team would do, where one person would run in, oh, the next person would run in from spawn, oh, they would be disconnected. It wouldn't necessarily be a concert. It would be very much just individual hits from different artists, but it was enough just about to grind out a victory.
Barely close that one out. GC Busan so very close themselves to getting into that semifinal. We'll have to play one more best of 5 as the entire team starts inspecting Stitch's face.
It had to be Runaway.
Oh, yeah, he's got a red mark on his
That
forehead.
was definitely a bump.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say maybe he's gonna have a scar that he can part his hair to show. From now on, it'll be like Harry Potter.
Probably not going to be interviewing Stitch, I'm guessing.
How do you feel today? I have a concussion.
Who says that esports doesn't have a physical side to Kilios?
Yeah. They say the only injury you can get is like carpal tunnel or something, but we're changing that one.
We are.
For the worst. But, all right, so yeah, probably not going to hear from Stitch. Maybe we'll hear from Runner. We can ask him exactly what he was thinking.
He was excited. He didn't break a booth this time around. Yes. Now I get worried about what's going to happen next season. Kilios is topping it each season.
I don't even know where you go from here. Break the booth, hurt your player. What's going to be the next step beyond that?
Still, we're going to see the respectful handshakes. Runaway did it differently. Remember, we didn't see Cox flexing onto DPS. Sombra was the closest that he got to that. They're cleaning up their gear. They picked up the victory. Stitch is standing, so that's a good sign. Just the hair and hopes no one will look. Trying to work out the next celebratory. They have to really coordinate that a little bit better. But GC Busan, I think they're going to be the sort of team that's going to be very difficult for the loser bracket teams to necessarily contend with. Really interesting to track. This season keeps giving. The winners matches keep giving. Kongdu, or Cloud9 Kongdu, so on point in our first season.
This is the
Haksal.
main night market, I believe, in the side room.
Yeah, this is an emphatic start. This is the second map of the night.
I mean, it's a good one, but honestly, I'd give it over to Stitch with the triple pulse bomb. That's where my heart lies as far as that play of the game goes for today. But that's just my opinion.
Great night of Overwatch, and we're still going to have more. We're still cementing on the new patch.
Oh, yeah.
Very little Junkrat today once again, so certainly a big pick and competitive, but when it comes to pro play, the efficacy of that pick is still to be desired. Plenty of Genji from Haksal, but you know, you get to a best of 7, you say, okay, well, we're going to expect Haksal on Genji. It could all change again, and that's the beauty of the